Well, guys, it's Chris. You were here yesterday.
Yes.
I'm going to let you go ahead and introduce yourself. We got Rattan and Smith here for the R.O.A.R podcast show. Chris, why don't you go ahead and introduce go ahead and say your name, introduce yourself, and tell us why you're here.
My name is Chris Pollard, and the reason I'm here is formed a group called Informed Citizens of Wheatland Township, and we have found out that our township was putting in wind turbines and that they violated the law doing so. And right now we have an attorney, Klaus Law, who petitioned the Zoning Board of Appeals, and we heard back from them 6 weeks later that they're not going to hear us, they're going to decline us. So I can go into detail of what happened. If that's
why
what you like
why don't
me
we
to do.
start from like the
beginning?
Yeah, the very beginning. Let's start in the very beginning.
First off, Chris,
Okay.
let's the very beginning goes all the way back to May 17th of 2018.
Correct.
But let's start
A
with
year and a half ago.
Let's start with the beginning of how you found out about this, Chris, and how because right after that you contacted me. And
Correct.
then what led you into this investigation?
Yeah,
that found
that
where
works.
it goes back to May 17th. So start there. Start where you found out.
I found out on July the 1st, I got a mail from the township that stated they're putting wind turbines in our township.
When was this?
July the 1st
This year?
Of this year,
2019?
2019.
Okay.
And the wife and I said, this is the first we've ever heard of this. What's going on? We went up to the township with a letter stating that we do not like wind turbines. We studied it for a week. We do not like wind turbines. Can we put a letter in? We put the letter in. They said, we're the only ones that do not want the wind turbines. I said, you're telling me that nobody in this township wants? No. Everybody that comes to the board meetings, everybody wants it.
Out of 1,351 people, you're the only one.
We're the only ones.
Wow.
Right.
Wow.
So we did
That's a pretty small minority.
We went to the township. They read our letter, but they still said it's pretty much a done deal. We found out about a planning commission meeting where they're going to adopt it and send it to the board to approve the entire project
With a recommendation for
with
the board.
the recommendation from the planning commission
Yeah, just
to
so
the board.
everybody knows, the planning commission, they can't pass anything. All they can do is study it, and then they can come up with a recommendation to either accept or decline. It's the township board themselves that have to vote on it.
So when the planning commission when they convene on this, do they have to like individually vote on this, John? How does that work?
Well, what happens is they're under the same because they're appointed by the township board. They're under the same Open Meetings Act rules.
Okay.
So they have to operate strictly by the Open Meetings Act because they're making decisions and policy decisions and recommending for policy decisions. Although they're not voting on it, they're doing the discussion and looking at the different things, and then they either recommend to the board to vote for or against a policy decision.
Okay.
And so at that point in time, because of that, they have to operate in the public venue, in the public purview, just like the township board.
Okay.
So what I did was I was talking to my neighbor. His name is Brian Burke. He's a police officer in Madison Township down in Adrian. And he says, I have this guy that helped me out of a situation here locally. His name is John Rattan. You give him a call. I said, absolutely. I'll call and talk to anybody. I don't care.
Brian is setting you up.
Brian set me up big time. But
No doubt.
But that's
he's
how I
setting
got
us
in.
up, John.
What's that?
He's setting you up.
Yeah, this is how I got in touch with John, and John, the way he is, which is great, said, "Well, let's see what the board is doing." Went to the township board, and we found an immediate Open Meetings Act violation.
Yeah, that's the first thing that you got to look for
And
when you
it
go to the meetings.
clicked. It clicked right there. Okay, if they're doing something wrong now,
That's simple stuff too.
Yeah, simple stuff.
Yeah, the petty stuff, right?
Oh
Petty.
yeah. The petty. That's right, petty.
so we found that OMA violation. So when we went to the planning commission meeting on July the 18th at the high school at North Adams Jerome High School, we also found another OMA violation where they never posted it at the high school. Nobody even knew about it.
Where did they post it at?
They posted it, they said, in the paper the Hillsdale paper, little small blurb that they always use, and then they posted it at the township hall.
Okay.
But by OMA, they have to post it if it's a special meeting in a special location. They have to post it there
Yeah. Right.
at that location.
Makes sense.
within 3 days, and they never did.
Okay.
And there was people that within our township that never even got a letter that it directly affects them, the wind turbines. So they didn't even know about the meeting. They didn't even get to go.
Right.
Which is another OMA violation.
Which is another OMA violation. When the meeting started, they went on and on. Did you review the video?
No.
Okay. It went on about Invenergy and how great they are, and they brought in specialists and paid them and said this is a wonderful thing, and half the audience.
They put on a PowerPoint presentation.
So
Okay.
I was just looking, and I really haven't talked to anybody about this other than my neighbors and stuff like that. But half of the stands were against the turbines, and the other half was for it. Well, when I turn and look at the other half, the people are wearing Invenergy shirts, Invenergy's hats, rah, rah, rah.
Wait. Okay.
So it's like, are you
When you say
township
stand,
people?
because you're at the school, so there's
I'm at the
stands,
school.
so there's bleachers.
In the
There's the
bleachers.
bleachers, yes.
Okay, so half of the people that showed up in the bleachers were employees.
No, I can't say that. I can't say that we're employees.
They were just wearing the Invenergy
They were wearing-
paraphernalia.
Yeah.
Well, that's strange. I mean, like, did they give people a bunch of T-shirts?
Every time you go to a township meeting, other than last month, they have people there with Invenergy hats, Invenergy shirts, all
So
kinds
you would
of.
just assume they're employees or staff, right?
No, these are township board members.
It's
Oh.
it's no different.
That's weird, John.
No, it's no different. When I was teaching at Jackson College, back when it was Jackson Community College, I used to do the same thing. I would go to conferences and I would set up, and for the particular class that I was teaching, I would have people coming in that were in the energy field. And so what I would do is I would have a bunch of T-shirts and hats that I paid for out of my budget for Jackson Community College, and we would hand them out and get people to wear them. You know, it's just
John, dude,
advertisement. Yeah.
Even you saying it sounds slimy, doesn't it?
It does sound sleazy, doesn't it? But that's. I mean,
So
I
they
wasn't,
came in and
I
they're
wasn't the only one
enticing
doing
people
it.
If
to-
you look at Penny's video, she has much better sound and video than what I did.
Okay.
I
God,
didn't.
that sounds so slimy.
I didn't have it accessed.
Well,
but what they did is
it's business.
they went down and started public comment, and I sat right down the front row because I wanted to get right in their faces. So I stood up and I said, out of the 7 board members, how many of you board members have direct contracts with this company? 4 of them raised their hand.
Out of 7.
Out of 7. And I looked at them and I said, okay, now you have to recuse yourself. They're shaking their heads, yes, on public video.
Now let me say something to that right there.
Mm-hmm.
In order to continue and to conduct a public hearing, you must have a quorum.
Yeah,
And
correct.
if you've
That's
got,
what I was thinking.
If you've got 4 out of 7 that have direct contracts, you don't even have a quorum. That meeting could not even go forward at that point.
Yeah,
but it did.
Right.
But it did. It went on.
Right. In a legal meeting. So
Mhm.
everything that happened during that meeting should right now be struck down.
And the meeting shouldn't even happened.
Right.
Right. But they went on. They listened to everybody. At the end of the meeting, Chris Thompson, chairperson, looked at everybody and said, okay, you cannot vote. You cannot, right on down.
Does he have ties to this?
Yes. He has a
Okay.
contract. He looked at
He's
The
conducting
three-
this.
the 3 gentlemen that, didn't have contracts, and they all voted. We'll vote it in. We'll pass it, resolution
Well,
onto the board.
Yeah. The motion on the floor was a motion to recommend to the county board to
The township
adopt-
board.
to the town. I'm sorry, to the township
this is
board
from the
to
planning
adopt.
commission.
Right.
So
Okay.
this is the planning commission. So the motion that was put on the floor was a resolution to adopt this particular program.
Okay. How many people on that planning commission have direct ties?
4.
Oh,
Four
that's
out
the
of
4
seven.
of the 7.
That-
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. How many on the township board?
Well, do you want to ask directly or indirectly?
Either way.
Directly.
How about all together?
Okay, directly, one person, Mark Reister,
Okay.
has a contract at 3 wind turbines and a substation.
And Mark Reister also is on multiple
That's
committees.
That's another legal issue
That's
because he
another legal
can't be
issue.
on
He
the zoning
can't be
board
on
of
the zoning-
appeals
and
by
be on the
O.M.A.
board. Yep.
Okay. And
But he is.
what about the rest of the township people
Board.
on the board?
Okay. Well, let's go into the first one is the supervisor, David Stone. He doesn't have a direct contract, but his father-in-law does.
Okay. What's the next one?
And Tina Stone, his wife, is on the zoning board of appeals.
She's going to be tomorrow over here at the county.
Yeah,
she's running for county commissioner.
Yeah.
Tina Stone is?
Yeah.
That's correct.
She's
Everybody wake up.
Okay. So So say that again. Now, Tina's.
Tina Stone's father, Tim Kelly,
Okay.
has a contract and 2 wind turbines.
So we got 2 fathers. Okay. And what's the next one?
John Reed, his father, Hal, has a contract.
Okay. So you got 4 board
What I
members.
found out today that somebody found out with the Register of Deeds that they're already plotting to give John his dad's property.
Okay. So you. Well,
So he's already into the
So
contract.
now he's directly involved.
Now he's
indirectly.
directly.
Yeah. What about the 5th member?
Pam Wonders, her daughter.
Oh, so they're all involved.
No, Dawn Johnson does not have anybody that I know of that's involved.
Oh, I thought you said 5 people there. Okay.
Right. The 4th one is Pam Wonders. Her daughter is married to Isaac Williams, who casted the last vote
In the
at the
planning
Planning Commission, who has a direct contract.
Okay. And then you're saying the last one is Don Johnson?
Dawn Johnson is the clerk.
Dawn.
Yeah, she's
Okay.
the
Dawn does not have a
I was like,
contract.
what a hell of a name. You know.
No. No, she...
It's almost like John Smith.
Yeah. Well, you know. I bet she dressed really nice. But yeah, Dawn Johnson. Okay. You don't have any. You can't figure out any connection there.
No, she doesn't have any connection with the wind turbine company.
Have you asked her about how she felt about all this?
Yes.
What was her opinion?
She's moving to Canada.
Oh.
No, I'm serious
when?
with you. Well, her daughter lives in Canada, and
Okay.
she says we've been planning this, so when these come in, we're going to go. David Stone said the same thing.
Yeah. He's
He
playing
said,
excellent.
I don't want to be around wind turbines. I'm leaving. It's like, well, then we're here holding the bag. Thank you very much.
Wait. Tina Stone's dad?
Yes.
How?
No, Tina Stone's husband.
is
Husband.
David
Tina
Stone.
and David are married.
Okay. Well, if they're
Tina's
moving, then why is she
dad
running
is the
for
one
county
that
commissioner?
has.
What's that?
If they plan on moving, why would she be running for county commissioner?
Maybe she's moving this
Interesting.
way.
But
I don't know.
no, they're moving. But it does, I would think that they're probably moving in Hillsdale County.
They could be moving to Somerset for all we know.
Yeah.
Or Adams or wherever, right? They could be your neighbors.
Anywhere in that district, if she's going to be.
Yeah,
in that
right. That's what
district,
I was
she has to
thinking,
stay in the
District 5.
district. Yeah.
Do you have a home for sale there near you?
There's a lot on Lake Leanne.
Well, I don't know if they can afford that, but okay. So that's the direct relationship of the
Wow,
board.
that's pretty wild. I mean, that's a lot of relationships and a lot of direct contact.
That's why when I talked to you before we started here, that they did it section by section. That's the reason.
Well, why don't we explain
Which
that?
is also a violation.
This is really bizarre, John. When he showed me that, I couldn't believe this is what they did. I mean,
I watched it on film. It was surreal.
so that was on film, how they did it.
I
in
have the
section.
minutes of the meeting here also.
Oh, that's
It's
so
surreal.
bizarre. So okay,
It's-
so for our audience, what they did was picture taking all of Wheatland Township and put it in a square, and then break it down into how many sections are there?
36 sections.
30
Wait a minute. Let's make this something a little bit easier for people to understand. Let's say there's 5 of us, and we all 5 have a home. And let's say I have a contract with my home, you have a contract with your home, and the other 3 people have a contract with their home. They can't vote on whether something's accepted with their home because they have a contract. So the other 4 of you vote on my house, and then I vote along with everybody else. And
On
so
your
whoever's house it is the only one that abstains from a vote so that we can get the whole thing passed, right?
Right, but you got
That's kinda how they did it.
How many little sections they did it though?
Well, there's 36 sections in the township,
Right.
but there's obviously some sections that
Yeah,
I think
so
it was
don't pertain
20
to the wind turbine.
I think it was 27 out of 36 sections, something like
so
that.
something
they
like that,
went
yeah.
by section section.
About
on this.
2/3.
Yeah, so it was like 27 out of 36
So
sections.
their parents or whoever their family members and
see what
friends,
that
they're
is.
voting for the. This is such a conflict of interest. And ethics issue, that's such a problem. You should, I mean, like, I wish our audience could see the square of Wheatland Township and how they broke this down
And the
into
bad
sections.
thing is they didn't tell you why they're recusing themselves. They just said, we're recusing ourselves from that section.
I'm sorry, it's 26. 26 out of
26
36.
is it? Well, it's like, well, why?
Yeah,
And they never answered.
and this is all caught on film.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
I have it
We got to
videotaped.
repost that.
I have it videotaped. It's
That's
it's
pretty-
on Informed Citizens of Wheatland Township.
It's so strange.
No, it's not strange, John. It's illegal.
It's very illegal.
Yeah. Okay.
So-
I mean, I'm thinking like if we have like other people that are listening to us, John, like old township supervisors and other people in other communities,
Right.
probably like, what the hell are they doing over there?
Well, no, that's the problem. Some people are going to be going, what are they talking about? I don't see a problem.
Yeah.
Well-
or they got away with that. We can get away with this.
We've got so many people sitting in positions that have absolutely no clue of the Open Meetings Act, have no clue of the Freedom of Information Act, have no clue of ethics in government.
Township official, township people.
It's wild.
Yeah. So okay, go ahead. Let's go ahead and move forward.
Well, what I'd like to do is start right from the beginning when they actually changed the ordinance.
Okay.
Yeah, because he's pretty good. That's pretty good. What you said, Chris, is how this all started. How he got made aware of
Involved.
it and got involved.
Okay.
So now
Exactly.
go ahead and start.
That was a wild month for you, I bet.
It's been a wild 4 months for me.
Oh
Yes.
yeah.
No, but when you jumped
he's
in,
been sleeping and breathing this every day.
Yeah.
It's yeah. This started on May the 17th of 2018, a year ago. What happened here was that the Planning Commission met, and they were going to meet to adopt and present it to the board to change the wind ordinance. The original wind ordinance that we had as a township was that you could not erect a wind turbine over 60 feet tall.
yeah. So like those swamp wind turbines and stuff like that. Like I mean, not swamp, but like a pond, like a
Well, no,
like for a farm.
the 60 footers. The 60 foot thing is there for personal
Use.
power
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like
generation.
the ones you see out by a pond and a farm.
Or farms.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and the chance of anybody putting up that big of one, usually they're not any more than 20 to 35 feet.
Right.
Is all you need
Right.
for personal wind generation. A lot of people don't understand. The MT and some of these other places that are writing these ordinances now are making these ordinances so that you cannot, you have to have one that has to be at least 80 feet because that puts you on an FAA map. And at that point in time, it makes it impossible for the individual to be able to produce power at their own house, which forces them to be part of the grid or
spend big money.
creates this condition where we can only have these great big huge corporate wind farms.
Yeah.
Now the corporate wind farms are as useless as you can get. It's the same as people have to understand why we use AC power as compared to DC power. Edison was the one that was trying to get the REA back when they were putting power in the houses, and he couldn't get it because all what he dealt with was DC. And so this is tantamount to the REA giving Edison the contract back then for DC because it wouldn't have worked well because you can't produce DC in one place and send it over long distance to customers. That's why we have AC power. So now that we're green energy, if you're going to produce the power where you use it, you want to produce it in DC and you want to use it in DC. But what they've done is the MTA and all these other ones have made it so that you can't do that on a small scale. You have to do it with these corporate wind farms that are tantamount to the same as if we would have had DC back then. You see what I'm saying? It's not a good fit.
So a year and a half ago. Go ahead and
Yes.
get back in it.
Well, what happened at the Planning Commission meeting was that they opened it up to public comment, and then they adjourned the meeting.
So the meeting was over.
The meeting, according to the minutes, according to everybody there, was over. Everybody left except the boards. A couple board members did leave. They had to come back in. We had one gentleman that stayed after, was talking to Tim Kelly, and he stated, oh, wait a minute, we forgot to vote this in. asked them to get together again, brought up Invenergy to the front table and said, how do we adopt this to get this through? And they said, well, all you got to do is recommend it to the township board. And then he motioned, Tim Kelly, who has a contract to wind turbines, motioned
Ethics.
to have it go through as a resolution, and Gar Huskus seconded it. No roll call. After it was adjourned,
People were left.
People had
didn't even
left.
know.
Not everybody, but the bulk majority of the public had left.
Right.
So
We only
once a
had
meeting
one
is
person that
adjourned-
stayed after with the board.
But once a meeting is adjourned, it is no longer before the public. And the OMA is very clear that business can only be done in the public purview, period.
Yeah, that's pretty well, and that's the first meeting date.
And he walked out of the township hall, told everybody they voted on it, and they all yelled, well, that's not right. That's illegal. They can't vote on it.
So
the
they
meeting was
knew-
adjourned.
The crowd knew it was an issue.
Yeah.
The crowd knew that they adjourned the meeting and they were going home.
See, when you're being abused, you know you're being abused, right?
So this is the the resolution to adopt the wind ordinance for
And that's
them
what
to bring them in.
And that's what this all.
This
is the
started
changes-
the whole show.
Okay.
This changes the ordinance so
Right off the
that
bat, they did that.
they can bring that in.
right.
Okay. Then you go to the June 12th meeting right after that planning commission meeting where the township board was going to adopt it, and they didn't have, they had conflict of interest. They themselves couldn't vote it through.
Right.
Ethics.
Ethics. And they voted it through anyways.
Right. When did the contract start getting around? Like, how did they know?
2 years ago.
Oh, so this has been going on for a little while.
Actually,
Yeah, the
it's
reason
been
they
going
didn't
on
come to
longer
me
than
was because I had 3 acres and they didn't need me.
Can't put one on 3 acres. But the other thing is, this started a long time ago. This started about 10 years ago
With a different company.
with a different company, in essence. And part of that is because if you remember 10 years ago, this big push was to get rid of all the coal-fired electrical plants. And gradually, by each year, these power companies had to have a certain percentage of their power generation in renewable energy sources. And so consumers decided to go with these wind farms. Not smart in my book, but they pay people, $1 million.
Well, they were told by the
$1 million a year to
state
be
that they
smart.
had to do so many.
Yeah, so they have to do so many, and part of this is this progressive ideology push.
Like the Green New Deal.
Yeah, the Green New Deal, because we gotta save the earth. Hey, don't get me wrong, I'm all about being good stewards with what we've been given, but the problem is doing corporate wind farms is about as ridiculous as wiring all the houses to DC back when the R.O.A.R came through. So it's ridiculous.
Well,
There's other ways to have renewable power and green power, but this whole thing is just ridiculous.
And I did a little blurb on Warren Buffett and Bill Gates. They both said that if it wasn't for the government subsidies, they wouldn't even have wind farms.
No, because
They're not efficient.
they're not efficient. You can't make money on them. Not only that,
and they have to decommission them and get rid of them after 15 odd years, and they can't put the wind blades anywhere.
well, the other thing is, when I taught at Jackson, one of the big things was we had to do carbon footprints. We had to do carbon calculations, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when you start doing the carbon calculations on wind turbines, it's a bigger carbon footprint than per kilowatt or per gigawatt even than what coal-fired is. So
Oh, yeah.
it's ridiculous.
definitely.
Well,
Yes.
regardless, you already said tax credit, and a lot of people don't know tax credits are not like you get free taxes for 10 years.
No.
That's what I thought it was just a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
And then I learned $11 million project tax credit was getting $9 million from the front.
In front, right.
Yeah. right
So
up front.
this $250 million project that you're talking about here,
Probably $200 million right up front.
if not more.
Well, no, that's what Consumers Energy is paying for the wind farm.
For the farm.
That's not what they're getting from the government. I do not know what they're actually getting from the government.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. This is absurd, and that's taxpaying
How
dollars.
would the
Absurd is
taxpayer?
an understatement.
Well, the taxpayer is paying for it to be built. Consumers Energy people are going to be paying for it in January with a 20% rate increase to pay for it, to buy
They're
it.
going to double their money on this.
They're buying it, and then in 15 years they have to pay $1.5 million on each wind turbine to decommission them. So we're actually doing it 3 times.
Yeah.
It's not worth it, and it goes into the grid, which goes everywhere. So we might not even get the energy.
So people that live in like Waterford, Michigan, are actually paying into this, right? This is a state.
Yeah.
Well, anybody that's a consumer's energy.
Well, no, I mean,
all
that-
Southern
for
Michigan,
that,
whoever has
for that,
Consumers Energy.
for the tax credit.
Well, and the other thing is too. Now you got Detroit Edison's doing the same thing. They're looking at trying to put in getting a company, a front company to put in wind turbines for them in a couple other counties, and then buy those farms. And now when we say buy the farm, that means buy the contract. The people whose property that goes on still own the property,
Right.
and they get paid money. Now you're going to find they never go into like Traverse City area or south of Traverse City. They never go into rich counties to do this. They always go into poor, economically strapped counties to do this.
Correct. Exactly.
Well, Chris,
Or counties that already have them, like the Thumb area, and they don't want them back.
Yeah.
you were showing me all kinds of different details of things.
Mm-hmm.
Now, did you do the timeline all through already now? You want to get into some of these details?
Yes, that's pretty much the timeline from last year and July 18th of this year and August 13th, which we touched on that, where they voted on each section, which was illegal too. And those are the 4 things, the 4 meetings that we really put the petition towards the Zoning Board of Appeals. And that's going to be a template to Circuit Court
Okay.
for us to go there. I can go into other details of how it affects.
I think you need to go into some of
Person?
these nuances.
Actually, I
Personal
think one of the best details is, if you feel comfortable doing it, is reading the petition to the Zoning Board of Appeals on for
John,
what they wanted
John,
done.
why don't you explain what that means? So I think our average viewer doesn't even know what the
okay.
zoning board of
Well,
appeals
and
is
then there's a lot
why.
of law, MCL law.
Yeah,
that-
anytime something happens with zoning and you don't agree with it, there's called a zoning board of appeals, where you can appeal to that zoning board, and they can look at each complaint specifically and make a decision, pro or con, on what your complaint is for that
from
particular
the zoning
zoning.
board of appeals. Where does it go from there?
Oh, from the zoning board
Well,
of
if you're
appeals.
denied-
the only place you have is court at that point.
If you're
in time.
not denied, then what happens?
then they'll look into the allegations. And
Then the
review
zoning
it.
board of appeals can say, okay, well, let's say, for instance, let's say I want to build a garage, and the zoning board says, no, you can't build a garage there. We won't allow you to build a garage.
So you
there.
get an appeal. This
So
is the
I
zoning
go
board
to
of
the zoning
appeals.
board of appeals and I say, hey, I couldn't get a building permit to build a garage here. Why can't I get a garage on my property in this place? And so you go to the zoning board of appeals and you go, look, this is why I want a garage here. There's 5 other people in the township that have the same type of garage, same type of situation. They have them. Why can't I have mine? I would like to have you reconsider whether I can have this. Now, the zoning board of appeals, then 3 members come together. It's always an odd number. They come together. They decide whether the particular zoning was treated you unfairly, or whether it
Okay.
they can do a conditional use for that particular
But
parcel.
what they say goes.
What they say is yay or nay, and then that goes again back to the township
Okay, that's
board.
what I was
And the
thinking.
township
Okay.
board then has to approve their findings. Most times, most boards.
9 out of 10 times they're going to approve
Yeah,
that.
because here you had an independent board listen to it. They know all the nuances to it, so the board's not going to rehash all
Right,
of
that-
those.
that makes sense.
And that's the whole reason why you
But
have
I
different
can tell you
committees
that
and
we
stuff.
were denied on the reasoning that all of the board members of the Zoning Board of Appeals have conflict of interest.
So wait.
So this is the first
zoning
time.
board of appeal has conflict of interest.
Yeah.
All of them.
All three of them.
All three of them.
Oh, there's three of them.
And they told me that Dawn Johnson, who is our clerk, is the zoning administrator. I called Dawn Johnson. She says, no, I am not the zoning administrator.
The one that's moving.
The one that's moving. She is not the zoning administrator. They don't have a zoning administrator. When you put a petition up against the zoning board of appeals, the zoning administrator has 10 days to post it
John,
and get a hearing, and it was never
would
done.
that go back to their township supervisor then?
Well, that's who I talked to was David Stone.
Yeah, their township supervisor. He's the one that.
And he's the
appoints
one that
those
told
boards.
me that they had conflict of interest and that they can't hear it.
I mean, this windmill stuff takes up over half of the county or half the township.
Yeah.
So you're gonna,
Yeah.
it's gonna fill all those people.
Yeah.
More than likely.
But anyway, what was going on is the hearing that they requested was laid out very well. I liked how it was laid out. It's laid out very well. And we'll start. There's 4 complaints that they had that they wanted to look at, and I won't read the beginning of it. I'll just read the particular complaints and what the justification was to the complaint. It says the May 17, 2018 Wheatland Planning Commission resolution recommendation that the Township Board adopt then proposed Wheatland Township Ordinance Section 16.25 wind energy facilities was improper. According to witnesses to the May 17, 2018 Wheatland Planning Commission meeting, the decision and vote on the resolution regarding Ordinance 16.25 did not take place until after the meeting had already been adjourned. Indeed, regardless of what the minutes of the meeting may deliberately imply, several witnesses will attest that the vote on the ordinance did not take place until after the meeting had been adjourned and after the public had begun filing out of the meeting. Therefore, the deliberation and vote on the matter did not take place at a public meeting as required by state law, and what he's talking about is the OMA. As such, the vote was improper and illegal. Under the Michigan Zoning Enabling Act, Michigan Compiled Law 125.3101 at sequel, which means the whole thing, all township meetings, including planning commission meetings, must comply with the Michigan Open Meetings Act, OMA. The OMA requires that all deliberations and decisions of a public body be conducted at a public meeting. Indeed, Wheatland Township's own ordinance, Section 4.02b, states that a meeting shall comply with the Michigan Township Rural Zoning Act, now the Zoning Enabling Act, which incorporates the OMA. Therefore, the requirements of the OMA have been adopted as policy and law of Wheatland Township. Because of this, the Township Planning Commission has violated their own law and policy as well as that of the state.
Duh.
And violated their own law.
But we see the same thing happening in county government, right?
Yeah,
They do the same thing. They come up with a law, and then if they decide they want to break it,
They can.
they do it at will.
Yeah, no, and it's petty. It's no big deal.
Yeah, it's called ethics, people. It's called ethics. So, number 2. The June 12th, 2018 Wheatland Township Board amended and adoption of Wheatland Township Ordinance Section 16.25 wind energy facilities was improper due to the board members' conflict of interests. According to witnesses that were present at the June 12, 2018 Wheatland Township Board meeting, several township board members had an actual or potential conflict of interest relating to energy contracts and or leases with private stakeholders in the proposed amended Wheatland Township Ordinance, Section 16.25. As a result, those members were required to recuse themselves from deliberation and decision-making on the matter. Because those members failed to recuse themselves from the process and did not abstain from deliberating and voting, the amendment cannot have force of law and should be ruled void. Now, here's another interesting thing. People think that if they have a conflict of interest, that just means that they can't vote, that they just abstain from the voting.
No, they can't even talk about it.
They can't even talk about it. They can't
Right.
be involved in the deliberation itself. And we see this all the time. I see this in county meetings where they go, well, I can't vote on that because I'm involved. But they sit right there and they're part of the deliberation. No, I'm sorry. You cannot be part of the deliberation if you have a conflict of interest, nor can you be part of the vote.
So they should remove themselves from the meeting altogether.
Absolutely.
Like
they
they
should
can't
not
even be
be
a member of
part
the
of the
public?
That's right. They should not be part of the discussion.
Or they should, if they don't have a quorum, replace people on that board that don't have a conflict of interest.
So that they can have a quorum. Now, if you
Is there? What's the procedures for that?
there's very outlined procedures for
Okay.
that, but I mean, Hillsdale City was running into the same situation, right? Their what do you call it? Their lawyer who operates as the parliamentarian, right? So their lawyer operates
Jack?
he operates as a parliamentarian, and he even warned them at one time that they had to be careful with how many people had interest to the college, because there were certain things that were going to come up that they wouldn't have a quorum for, that they couldn't do anything with because there was too many people with an interest to the college.
Right.
So you have to look at the same thing in these county townships, in the county board and in the township.
So when
boards.
the township people are electing people to these, like the planning commission stuff, they should be taking this in consideration.
Well, they don't
right?
elect to the.
Are they
planning
appointed?
commission.
I'm sorry. When
Yeah.
they
Appointed.
appoint.
So when you start electing a township board, but here's the problem, right? We've always seen this. Everybody gets involved with national politics, care less about what's going on in their own backyard. I've never understood that. But anyway, so let's go to number 3. Number 3, the July 18th, 2019 Wheatland Township Planning Commission recommendation for approval of the conditional use permit pertaining to Crescent Wind LLC was improper for the following reasons. A, at the July 18th, 2019 Planning Commission meeting, the Commission did not have the necessary quorum to make, deliberate, and or adopt such a resolution recommending the approval of conditional use permits for the Crescent Wind LLC. Now, this is the meeting that Chris was talking about that happened at the high school
That I was there. Yeah.
at the North Adams.
with the
yeah, I was there too.
the hoorah with
broadcast
the
it
shirts and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
I was there too. That was
So weird to me.
Yeah, it was. It was like watching a movie, like
Let's
fiction.
pack our side.
Like fiction. So anyway, at the July 18th, 2019 Planning Commission meeting, the question was asked by a member of the public, and that was Chris, as to whether or not any of the members had a conflict of interest with regards to the proposed resolution to recommend approval of the Crescent Wind LLC plan
And that was against the planning commission, right?
to the
Yeah.
Township Board. According to the meeting minutes, 4 members had a conflict of interest. Now, this is even by their minutes.
Their
4
own.
members had a conflict of interest.
You got a copy of that before they burned it, right?
It's in the exhibit right there.
It's in the exhibit. Commissioner Williams, however, who did have a conflict of interest, improperly cast the deciding vote. And I believe that was, yeah.
What?
Yeah, it was Williams. However, did have a conflict of interest, improperly cast the deciding vote regardless, because 4 members had a conflict of interest and thus could not deliberate or vote on the matter. The commission did not have the necessary quorum to take up the matter. So it should not have even, they should have ended
They
the
should
meeting
have
before
stopped.
they even started it.
Well, it sounds like they should have ended all their meetings.
Well, once I presented that, they should have stopped
Yeah,
and
yeah,
said,
right.
hey, we don't have a quorum. We have to get the right people on board.
Sure.
No, they just went on.
And here's the thing, and I don't know whether it's arrogance or ignorance, but
Both.
they even put it in the meeting that
Yeah,
for the people.
we've experienced this, John. It's
yeah,
both.
and yet when you bring it up to them, they're like, yeah, so
Every township, I swear, every township I've been in so far, Chris, is the same concept. It's the boss hog mentality. We've been doing this for 20, 30
Yeah.
years.
So we
We've
can keep
always
doing
done
it.
Who are you to come in here into our community and tell us how we run our neighborhood? And
Well, I
stuff
don't
like
know,
that?
because the law's been there for about the last 50 years. So you might have been doing it for the last 20 like this, but you've been doing it wrong for 20
Every
years.
township that I've been to, just about has been like that.
What they're telling me is that because I wasn't involved, I don't have a say. If I was involved in their meetings, then I would have had a say. I said, well, wait a minute. I'm a township taxpayer.
Yeah, they say,
I
Chris,
can have a say.
Chris, you just go ahead and pay for the stuff, but
Yeah,
you don't get any
but,
say-so.
But you don't get a say so.
Because you didn't go
You
to town
put
hall
up with
meetings
all the
prior to
noise and all the flicker and all everything
Because you didn't go to meetings beforehand?
because I didn't go to meetings.
Yeah,
That's
well,
exactly what
John-
Chris Thompson told me at the last Township meeting.
We hear that too. That's a common theme.
Yeah.
That we hear when we go to these townships is because they bitch about nobody showing up to these meetings, and then when people hear wind of stuff like this, when they're doing corruption, when there is tyranny,
and then everybody shows up,
and people start showing up, and then they play victim because nobody shows up.
Well, then videotape it. If people can't show up, videotape it so that you can see it live, or you can.
Before I go down that rabbit hole,
Yeah.
I don't want to go down the rabbit hole because this is the rabbit hole. What you're talking about is, I think government and citizen have some
apathy.
they have some sort of disconnect. All right.
Right. With the public.
I think what's going on here is the public have a certain level of expectations that government needs to be in their face one way or another, and government, on the other hand, on the flip side of the coin, feels that the citizens need to be in their face.
Well,
so there has to be some sort of medium there, and I think technology can change that.
Well, part of the problem is you got these people that have lived in a direct democracy for so long that they think it's a direct democracy. I mean, we saw the same thing in August of 2016 when Tim Walberg argued that by virtue of the people putting him there with 218 votes, he could pass anything. Article 1, Section 8, Clause 1 through 17 of the Constitution meant nothing to him. And we get the same thing. We get apathy of the people that believe that we've put people there to govern, and that they're going to govern by the rules and they're going to govern by the law and everything's hunky-dory, everything's fine. But when they find out that things aren't hunky-dory and things aren't fine and they show up, then you get this apathy of this direct democracy of these people going, well, you people put us here. You never showed up. You didn't say anything until now. So, you got to live with it.
Yeah, it's like slapping your wife around and she don't complain for the first month. And then the second
then there's
month,
nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
Right.
So she should just shut up now, right? Okay. So the rest
we
of
didn't
this.
We didn't go too deep.
Don't go deep.
I always get in trouble for that. What do you? I'm gonna. People can't see me. I'm finger wagging at John right now. So, okay. While it may be true that at the outset of the meeting, with all 7 planning commission members present, there was at that time a quorum. However, as soon as the issue of the Crescent Wind LLC conditional use permit was taken up, that quorum was destroyed and no longer applicable in light of the various conflicts of interest of the various commissioners. Therefore, without a proper quorum, the proper vote could not be made. See Wheatland Township Planning Commission Bylaws, Section 3, Conflict of Interest. Moreover, those members that did have a conflict of interest did not take the appropriate steps to formally abstain and thereby extricate themselves from discussion and deliberation of the matter. As such, the Planning Commission violated their own policy, and thus the vote approving the resolution was improper and thus null and void. B of number 3.
Get that frog out of your throat.
Yeah. It's a toad. The Planning Commission did not provide adequate notice of the meeting to all residents within 300 feet of affected properties. Under law of the state of Michigan, the Planning Commission is required to provide notice via mail to all assessed residents within 300 feet of a subject property by a proposed zoning change or special or conditional use, etc. That's Michigan Compiled Law 125.3103, paragraph 2. At least 2 assessed residents within 300 feet of the subject property were not given proper notice. I'm not going to read their names. Therefore, because the notice of the meeting was improper, the vote was illegal and invalid.
Yeah,
C.
so that's that map you showed me where
Their property is
that one
Their
property,
property line is
not
right
300
next to
feet. It's
right next to
It's
one.
the property line.
that one property is like in between the two. I'm like, whoa, man.
Yes, there is one right behind and right across the street.
Can you imagine that?
And are they fighting? Like, are they?
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's a single mother with kids, and she works hard, and she can't just have time off.
Besides that, she's supposed to pay for it. She doesn't get a voice. She's not on the board.
Well, maybe we could reach out to her and give her a platform.
So anyway,
she would like to.
Yeah.
Probably talk to you.
C of number 3. One or more of the Planning Commission members that voted on the resolution had a conflict of interest. During the vote on the Crescent Wind LLC conditional use permit at the July 18th, 2019 Planning Commission, only 3 members initially voted in favor of the resolution to to recommend approval of the permits. Because they did not have the votes to pass the resolution, Commissioner Williams voted in favor. However, because Williams had a conflict of interest, his vote was improper and should not have been counted. As such, the vote approving the resolution and recommendation was tainted and improper and should not have been recommended to the Township Board. Indeed, pursuant to the Wheatland Township Planning Commission bylaws, Commissioner Williams committed malfeasance in
Yeah, he committed
office.
a crime.
That
Yeah.
is a felony. That is a crime. Where he failed to abstain from participating in Planning Commission deliberations and voting on a request. See Wheatland Township Planning Commission bylaws, Section 3, conflict of interest. Now, number 4. This is the last complaint. As if the first 3
I was
were
gonna say,
just
does it
little.
get worse?
As
Like-
if the first 3 were just
Right.
little ones.
Like, does it just it keeps getting
Yeah.
worse and worse? And
Number 4, on August
same old
13th,
thing.
on August 13th, 2019, Wheatland Township Board adoption of approval of conditional use permits pertaining to Crescent Wind LLC.
we got to figure out who owns that too. By the way,
Who owns what?
Crescent Wind.
Well,
LLC.
Consumers Energy is going to. I
Yeah, they're
assume.
buying it.
Yeah, but who owns it now?
They were a front company for consumers all along.
Okay.
4.
Okay.
A. This is section A
Interesting.
of number 4. The Wheatland Township Board members did not abstain from deliberation of the conditional use permits and did not properly resolve their conflicts of interest. While the Township Board attempted to make a shrewd end-around conflict of interest issues, the deliberation and vote on the conditional use permits was improper and illegal. In order to absolve themselves of their conflict of interest, during the vote on the conditional use permits, the board voted on each section separately, with various members recusing themselves from voting at various times. This is against, and this was actually recorded in the August 13th, 2019 Wheatland Township Board meeting minutes.
And that goes back to what you first started before you started reading this, is
Right.
where if you have 5 people and you want to
5
vote on something,
Yeah, but you can't
Right.
vote on it because it
Can't vote on
pertains to your
yourself.
house. You'll vote on the other 4 people's.
Yeah, it's like they made a
Yeah.
backdoor deal with each
Yeah,
other.
that's exactly what it was, and it's a violation of ethics. It's a violation
I mean,
of the
anybody that
law.
listens to this show should clearly pick that out. These people made backdoor deals. They're all crooked at this point.
None of them have clean hands at this point.
I mean, every member of
all the boards.
all the boards.
Correct.
Right, and here's the thing: anybody that participated that didn't have a conflict of interest, but continued to go along with everything and didn't at that point in time voice an opinion, are guilty of
Association.
nonfeasance.
Okay.
Right? So you got malfeasance, misfeasance, and nonfeasance. So all 3 of them are a crime. So
Man.
be careful. Sometimes you can become a criminal by just not doing the proper thing, right?
Correct.
So, however, what should have happened in order to comport with the law pertaining to public bodies and conflicts of interest, actual or potential, was for those members with any such conflict to recuse themselves and abstain from any deliberation and vote. Indeed, this is the implied policy of the township, where the body of ordinances is silent, but the Planning Commission bylaws state that a member with a conflict shall declare a potential conflict of interest and abstain from participating in Planning Commission deliberations and voting. See Wheatland Township Planning Commission bylaws, Section 3, conflict of interest.
So you do what they want you to do, but they don't have to do what it.
Well,
pertains
that's
to
very-
them.
So we have these laws that are supposed to protect us, but they're just they're just parchment barriers, right? So if these people are just going to be able to do whatever they want to do, then it's not worth the paper it's written on, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Again, where the Wheatland Township ordinances are silent on conflict of interest, one can assume that the policy is the same as that of its companion municipal body. For the purposes of this issue, it would be nonsensical to assume that while the Planning Commission, which is which is reasonable for making recommendations to the board, has certain restrictions regarding conflicts of interest designed to ensure against malfeasance, that the board does not share in those same rules and restrictions regarding the same. So what he's saying is the planning commission has rules that says that you can't be in conflict of
Right.
interest, but there's nothing specific that says that for the board. But why would the board not have the same rules if they're going to put those same rules on the planning commission? Therefore, to the extent that those board members with conflicts of interest did not abstain from the entire proceeding regarding the application for conditional use permits for which they had a direct or indirect financial interest, the board vote must be ruled null and void until such time that the conflicts can be resolved. B of number 4. The Wheatland Township Board did make any determinations pursuant to Wheatland Township Ordinance Section 16.06. And I think that's supposed to say the Wheatland Township Board did not make any determinations pursuant to Wheatland Township Ordinance Section 1606. Now, in Wheatland Township, do you have that 1606 ordinance here with you?
Yes.
This is kind of important.
Sounds like it's all important.
Well, this is kind of important because I think the people listening will really understand this once they understand 1606.
1606 is that
That has A through H. 1606, where they have to go through it and make sure that the A through H is compatible with the.
It sounds like to me 15 to 20 people in your community are on the take. That's what it just sounds like to me.
Well, just the ones making rules.
That's what I'm saying. 15 to 20 people, right?
basically? Yeah,
Just
that's
the ones
right.
making rules. But anyway, okay, I won't.
I don't have it.
If you don't have it, anyway.
Is this it right here?
What it says is A through H.
G.
When they do these, it says.
Now that's not 1606.
No,
That's
that-
1625.
Yeah, this is 16.25. 1606 of the rules says that if the planning commission is going to do anything, they have to look at the site plan, which is that big map, that big book of maps that you're looking at.
Yeah.
So they have to look at
Just
the
so
site.
the audience knows, we got a big book of maps here.
So you have to. What they have to do is in construction, and this is one of the areas I know. In construction, when you do a site plan like that, what they have to do is they have to take that site plan, and then they look at different things within that site plan, and so they have to.
Like in these maps, we see flicker rate. There's another map that has sound rate. There's another map that has other different
and there are
things.
things like okay, will the site plan is the site plan within 500 feet in construction? One of the things they look at is the site plan within 500 feet of
Distance.
a waterway?
Yeah.
So if it is, then it's like a flow chart. You come over here, then they have to have silt fence so many feet, so and put such in place, and things like that.
It's the game plan.
That's right. Well, what it is a list of things to make sure that when a planning commission is looking at things,
They have
that
all the information.
that they make all those considerations. Okay,
I found
so,
1606 in our
so
ordinance.
it says the conditional use permit shall be issued unless, based upon the report supplied by the planning commission, the township board shall determine that. Now they have to go through all of these steps and determine this, A through H.
Correct.
A, the parcel will, according to the plans and specifications, data, exhibits, and information supplied to the planning commission by the applicant, meet the specific requirements and regulations as set forth in the ordinance applicable to the said conditional use in the zoning district in which said use is to be located, and shall be lawful under all federal, state, and local laws, ordinances, and regulations applicable thereto. B, the property will be served adequately by essential public facilities and services such as highways, streets, police and fire protection, drainage structures, and refuse disposal, or that the persons who will own or operate the property shall be able to adequately provide any service of a non-public basis. In these regards, the plans and specifications for all public, industrial, and commercial buildings for which a conditional use permit, which is what these windmills are under, conditional use permit,
right.
has been applied, shall be submitted by the Township Planning Commission to the Township Police and Fire Department and to the Hillsdale County Health Department with a request
do
for a
that?
written determination that the building will comply with applicable thereto. C, the parcel will not be hazardous or disturbing to existing or future neighborhood use. This is important because they changed the offset of where these things can go. They can't, it used to be 1,500 feet from an occupied building, and they adopted a new zoning plan that said that they could do it within 1,000 feet. I remember one of the questions that was brought up, and they said, okay, well, if it's within 1,000 feet from my house, and that's fine, but this guy's got it on his property, but let's say it's right next to a property I want to build on, and now when I get ready to build that house, it's going to be within 500 feet of the windmill.
Yeah.
Can we put it in?
You can't. Yeah.
And they said, yeah, we'll let you put it in.
Well,
That's the situation you were talking about yesterday.
Yes,
and they
the
can't
planning
right here
commission told me they
because
would do it.
and they can't right here because under 1606 section C it says the parcel will not be hazardous or disturbing to existing or future neighborhood use.
Yeah. So that was the situation with the house that was trying to be built.
Yes.
Now they can't build.
He
That's right.
can't. Yeah, he can't build where he wanted to on his property because the turbines encroach on his
Yeah.
property.
And D says the property will not create excessive additional requirements at public cost or public facilities
So
and
at that
services.
point, he has to civilly sue too, which
That's
is going
right.
to cost a lot of money
That's right.
He won't
for
have
him.
enough money
And
to
yeah,
do
and
that.
you got to fight that
E,
company.
the property will be harmonious with and in accordance with the general objectives or with specific
Whatever that
objectives
means.
of the township master
Well, these
plan.
zonings are for a reason.
Of the
I understand.
objectives of the township master plan then in effect. F, the property will be designed, constructed, operated, and maintained so as to be harmonious and appropriate in appearance with the
that
existing
means.
or intended
That's
character
subjective.
of the general vicinity.
Could be
And that
subjective.
such conditional use will not change the essential character of the general vicinity. G, the property will be a
Vague.
substantial
very vague.
improvement to property in the immediate vicinity and to the community as a whole. H, the property will not involve uses, activities, processes, materials, and equipment and conditions of operation that will be detrimental to any person, property, or the general welfare by reason of excessive traffic, noise, smoke, fumes, glare, or odor. Okay? Now that's 1606 of the ordinance. So
They went against that.
and in the complaint, number 4B, it says the Wheatland Township Board did not make any determinations pursuant to the Wheatland Township Ordinances Section 1606. So when the site plan came in and they looked at each plan, each site, each section, which is a site plan, we found some that are set right on top of county drains. Well, the pilings that they have to put down, these bases that they have to put down, are going to interfere with that county drain, and
That
the county has absolutely no clue on how they're going to fix that.
Tim Martin and I stopped up in Ithaca and talked to a farmer. That was actually the number one complaint, that they screwed up the drain tiles, and the company, they never did fix them. So, but they didn't have a ton of complaints per se, but they did complain about that. That was the number
Right.
one complaint.
Now, the thing is, what they're complaining about here in this complaint, number 4B, is that when they voted on it and they did it by section, and
Which is crazy.
nobody took each section and went through that section A through H of 1606 and made sure that each section, each plot plan for each section.
Well, the plot
was
plan is
proper.
different from the map.
That's right.
So
Exactly.
You know,
Yes,
that was
it sure
you
is.
just showed me before the show
That's right.
started here.
So
Yes.
one of
You were showing me that each plot was individually different from what we're looking on the big map.
That's right.
Exactly.
So one of
Yep,
one of the other problems is we found one turbine that didn't even have
Service drive.
they didn't have a service drive. There was another one that didn't have any lines going to it. So you had a turbine
Transmissions
here,
lines
no
are
transmission lines anywhere going to it. So if they had done that, had they gone through the plan like they were supposed to,
They would have caught all these
they'd have
stuff.
caught all those things.
There's a lot
those
of
things
errors.
would have
There
been
wasn't
fixed.
just one or two.
There's
was it?
missing
a ton of
houses
them. There's missing
how many
that
houses.
are the closest to the wind turbine.
Chris, ballpark. How many years?
I have it wrote right down.
Well, just ballpark, man.
I think 17.
So 17 errors.
Yes.
And so that goes to show you that they did not, because you got 5 members. Well, technically,
Well, I
you got
asked
10
them
members that should have gone through this.
Right, but-
I asked them if they had an engineer look at this. They said no. I said, so
No
who?
professional.
No, nobody.
Not a single
Just
professional
the
has looked at
township
this.
board. No.
But does it shock anybody that they didn't go through A through H on Section 1606 of the rules when they didn't follow the written law of the state of Michigan or any of the laws that they wrote in their township?
John, okay, it doesn't take an expert to think about the idea of hiring an expert to come in and look at this.
Yeah, you'd think so, though, right?
Being a township level.
Yeah. Okay. So
What about MTA?
so B?
MTA?
Yeah, what about
They're the
MTA?
one.
They're with the township.
Yeah, they're the ones that are writing these ordinances.
They're
for
the
them.
ones that are writing the ordinances that nobody follows by.
Yeah. So anyway, B, which we were talking about, this 1606, section A through H. The complaint says, pursuant to the Wheatland Township Ordinance, section 1606, after the Wheatland Township Planning Commission sends a matter to the board, the latter shall determine whether or not a proposed conditional use permit will comport with the master plan. Among other factors, at the August 13, 2019 board meeting, they made no determination as to the factors A through H of section 1606 whatsoever. Perhaps this was due to the fact that the board members were aware of their various conflicts of interest and the requirement.
You think?
Yeah, and the requirement
might have
that they
woke up.
abstain from from precisely those deliberations that would determine factors A through H. Regardless of the use of the word shall in the ordinance, imposes a duty on the board to make such deliberation and determination. In order for the vote on the conditional use permits to be proper, the board was required to make such determinations. However, in this instance, in order to do that properly, those board members with conflicts were required to recuse themselves from making such determinations. Nevertheless, because the required determinations were never made, the vote to approve the permits was improper, where the board failed to adhere to the law of the township. As such, the approval must be ruled null and void. So the conclusion to all of this is, as a result of the aforementioned improprieties and illegalities committed on behalf of the Wheatland Township Planning Commission and Wheatland Township Board, I respectfully request the Wheatland Township Board of Appeals determine that, number one, the amendment to the Wheatland Township Ordinance, section 16.25, as approved by the board and planning commission, was improperly adopted and therefore void. And number two, the conditional use permits approved by the planning commission on July 18th, 2019, and the Wheatland Township Board Board on August 13th, 2019, are illegal, improper, and therefore void. I further request that a hearing be held on this matter and that I be permitted to present on my behalf. So what happened was they asked to have a meeting so that they could go through this, or a hearing, so that they could go through this with the board and actually air their grievances, under Article 1 or under the First Amendment of the Constitution, under Amendment 1 of the Constitution, where you have the right to redress grievances to your government, and they refused.
They said no.
They said no.
That was it.
They
denied
just
us.
said no. They denied us.
They denied it. Said no.
Stating
We don't want to hear
that
it.
they did not. Everybody on the zoning board of appeals have conflict of interest. That's the reason. I said, well, put somebody on there that doesn't.
What no to that?
So
He doesn't
now-
know anybody. Nobody will speak up and
So
get on their board.
here's the irony of this. They said, well, we all have conflicts of interest, but we're going to go ahead and pass this and vote on it and deliberate on it anyway. And then when the people said, well, we have a problem with that because you all have a conflict of interest, they said, well, we can't have the hearing because we have a conflict of interest.
This is bizarre.
Does it?
You can't make this stuff up.
Honestly, from an outsider's perspective, it just looks like there's 15, 20 people on the take. That's really what it looks like, John.
Well, here's what I'm not going to say that they're on the take. I'm going to say
appearance.
We got 15, 20 people that are absolutely ignorant of ethics,
I-
ignorant of the law, ignorant of just how to treat their neighbor.
What I mean is,
Right.
I'm not saying. What I'm saying is, it just appears that they look like they're on the take. They're the criminal. They got criminal actions going on here.
Well,
It's possible.
we already
I mean-
know that there's malfeasance, right? And that's a criminal action.
Man, this is I can only I mean, I'm hyped up for your community. I can only imagine if it was going on in my community, right? 'Cause
Oh,
Well,
part-
I'm hope this
part of it
hyped
is.
up for more than just our
Yeah,
community,
the lines
because
are run through my community,
our little community is a very poor community. We don't have the money to fight this really. That we want to spread it out to people that are with Consumers Energy, who's going to get a 20%
like me,
rate increase.
I'm going to get that.
Yeah,
And
so am I.
we've talked
I
to
got two
business
locations.
owners that are getting a $900 a week increase to pay for this
This
wind
is this
farm.
is Ross Design, right?
Ross
place
Design,
across the
yes.
street from me. So like they told Ross Design that his bill's going to go up $900 a week.
Yes,
Holy crap.
a week, which is an employee. $3,600 a month. That's an employee. He's got to pay for this wind farm.
Yeah. So he's got to cut an employee for the wind farm.
This is one business. If we can contact 100 businesses,
Yeah,
and
how many,
they would
I wonder
give
how
us
many little metal shops there are.
Yeah.
if they would go to the GoFundMe page on our Informed Citizens of Wheatland Township and fund us a little bit more, we could fight this,
But this
as far as
isn't
we
just-
need to.
well-
I don't know
well,
how far we need to go.
Chris, this isn't just in Wheatland. This is in Moscow. This is
Moscow.
in North Adams. Right?
And
Well,
in
Adams
little
Township-
corner of Somerset.
And the lines, some of the lines are run through Somerset.
Yep.
Just the lines, right? Transmissions line.
But-
In Adams Township, there's only 6 because of
What
the
does that
airport.
mean that the lines are run through Somerset? What does it even mean?
Well, it meant that Ross Design's getting charged $900 more a week.
Well, no. What it means is that all of Moscow Township, they don't have a substation.
Okay.
Okay, they have 6 wind turbines. They all have to be fed to Wheatland Township, where the substation is.
Okay, so that's why it's coming through Somerset.
Yeah.
So all these transmission lines, have to go through. And,
Is that,
and
and
of course,
that's been approved in Somerset?
Well,
all townships, according to Invenergy, have approved and they're done. They're-
actually, when I talked to...
I gotta ask Scott about
when
that.
I talked to some people in Somerset, they went,
Who'd you talk to?
no, that's not approved. Well, I'm not going to put their name
okay.
out, but a couple people said,
I'll put their name out next
no,
time.
we've got, they said, we've got ordinances against wind turbines.
I like names, Chris.
well,
So-
they're not getting wind turbines.
I know,
They're
but
just getting
here's the
transmissions
thing: they
line
don't
4 feet
realize
under the ground.
I know, but they don't realize those transmission lines going under the ground makes them part of the wind farm.
It does.
and thereby at that point in time makes them part of the stakeholders in paying for this stuff.
Well, that's what I was wondering.
Yeah.
What does that mean by those lines? Because you showed that little blue map of Wheatland.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we got a blue map now in Somerset,
Well,
right?
it's like having stolen property, and you go, "Well, I didn't steal it." Yeah, but the stolen property's on your property, right?
and what about when someone purchases that property and it has those lines underneath it? What's that even mean?
Right.
Well, if you purchase a property, those lines, you have to have a contract with that property. So you bought the property with a contract, and that has been done in Wheatland Township as of 2 months ago.
Well, you were saying that gentleman that bought that house didn't even know that.
He didn't even know that he was under contract.
So a guy purchased the property. They didn't disclose this contract,
No.
and now he's he's forced into this.
The title company didn't catch it.
Oops.
His real estate agent didn't catch it.
Oops.
And they're on the hook. Yes.
Oops.
Man.
He loves the property, but he does not want a contract with that where they can come in and tear any tree down they want and put
Yeah,
transmissions
the
lines
the
where
contract's saying they can
he
do
says,
whatever they want.
No, I like my property the way I want it. So
The other thing is, just aside from all of the illegalities and the malfeasance and nonfeasance and misfeasance that has taken place within this local government, which is just in and of itself is despicable. There's these wind turbine farms have some very, very huge effect on wildlife and on hunting and on fish and game in the area. It's not good.
I mean,
in fact, in California,
we
where
could do
they've
a
got the
whole
wind
show
farms,
just on that.
yeah,
we could do a whole
in-
show just on that.
Yeah, in fact, in California, it's so bad because you can go to prison for 10 years for killing a condor. There's been so many condors and other birds killed by these things that they had to the federal government had to give California a special permit.
They probably got a huge rodent issue
yeah, for
too.
for the amount of birds that it's killing.
Yeah, the pests are probably getting pretty high, I would assume.
And it's not good. It's not good.
We do have a few bald eagles in Wheatland Township, and I'm just wondering.
Not no more.
Well,
no, they're all wearing toupees now.
Yeah,
so.
really.
No, so I mean, honestly, we can go into a whole show on how the windmills affect the environment.
Oh, absolutely.
We can go into a whole different show on how it affects humans,
Human life.
right?
Mm-hmm.
We all. I mean,
I can
anybody
do a
could
whole dissertation on the carbon footprint that they're not
of them,
less.
the flicker rate, how it hurts people, particularly with epilepsy, which is
yeah.
very common.
Migraines.
Oh,
Okay.
absolutely.
We can talk
Go
about.
on and on.
We can go on and talk about how
The low-level constant sound that in the military
The
we used to call it
sub-sound
in the military we used to call it psyops. They used to play, one of the torture techniques is play white sound
What's
at
the
somebody.
famous one that they do? Ultra something ultra. MK Ultra.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I already know the ambient sound.
Yeah. White noise can actually
Exactly.
make you hear hallucinate and
You'll
and hear voices.
start creating psychosis from this
Oh,
stuff.
absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
And it'll start destroying your life.
Absolutely.
And what you see is a lot of people leave at that.
Well, yeah,
time
and it
once
probably
they bring them
destroys
in.
land values, I would assume.
Well, the other thing is how many people in the area have what's called seasonal depression.
Right.
Okay, seasonal depression on top of having this constant sound with these other things bombarding their
Inners.
it's not
Ear.
good.
Well,
it's not good.
John, that we talk about this, but government has no authority to protect land value, but they don't have the authority to destroy it either in a community.
No.
For profit.
But the
for
whole
their own,
reason
line
is
their own
that's
pockets.
the whole reason why this black and white
That's
laws, these black and white laws were written, right? And people vote these people in thinking, well, those laws are there. They're just going to follow them. No, they don't. We don't
They
even
don't
do it in the
follow 'em.
county.
That's the problem.
That's the problem. They're parchment barriers. So the only thing that keeps these people from doing this is people getting involved in their local community.
Yeah, getting
Local
involved
co-
Exactly.
or suing them. And then they play
Well,
victim.
you want to get
yeah.
involved before you sue them, really.
Well, of course, but then they become victims, right? They're like, "Oh,
Exactly.
poor us, because you guys
Well,
didn't
look what
show
Mark.
up." Yeah.
Look what Mark Wiley was doing. He was doing the boo-hoo. We spent $800,000 in
North Adams the same way.
lawyers and blah 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 blah. Well, okay. Well, you don't want to spend that kind of money, then follow the law.
Adams-
It's that simple.
Adams Township was the
Exactly.
same exact way. They all cried victim as soon as a lawsuit came out, and they have to pay money, and they're all got egg on their face, and now they're crying victim,
Yeah.
right?
And even in that situation,
The sheriff department's the same way.
well, even in that situation, there was 2 months in a row where people tried to help them and tried to show them the law and tell them exactly what they needed to do to comport with the law.
And it didn't comply.
No, the
No,
arrogance was, you could cut the arrogance with a knife.
What are some smaller detail stuff that you went over yesterday off air and today off air that you were explaining to me? What are some other small details that were just sounded ridiculous? Because you have quite a bit. You got like a big file stacks here.
Yeah,
You got quite a bit of things. Is there anything that we didn't touch on, or
This is 4 months of his life right here.
there's many things that we didn't touch
okay?
on.
Let's touch on some of that.
You want to touch on the noise? You want to touch on the flicker? What?
We know. Okay, so
We're
Wait a
going to
minute,
get
wait a
off the
minute.
legal end of it.
Flicker, isn't that one of Santa's reindeers?
well, we were looking at that map.
That's
The
his-
map was showing flicker rate, and we seen that was touching properties. We seen the sound touching properties, including yours, wasn't it? Well, one of them was touching yours.
Well,
Was
yeah.
the flicker rate?
Yeah.
Both touch mine.
So, also, John, we were looking at their key.
Yeah, yeah.
So I Googled the
I've seen
decibels,
this,
right?
Yep.
I was trying to figure out what decibel is 50 and 30. Whatever
This
that
is the flicker right here.
And I'm not no sound engineer, so
Right.
I'm really not. I'm just going off their key, right? 'Cause I'm
Right.
going to take their benefit of the doubt. When I was looking at on the phone here, it wasn't matching up to the description of what this gentleman was telling Chris.
Yeah.
Like a AC unit,
Mhm.
but the 30 decibel or 50 decibel didn't equal to that.
When I was in one of the meetings, I asked Invenergy person there, Kevin Cole, I said, Mr. Cole, what does it sound like to be within 40 decibels of this wind turbine? Because
40 oh, I see what
40
you're saying. Yeah.
decibels,
Okay.
because my house is 1,800 feet from this wind turbine. He said, I said, will I hear it? Oh, he said, absolutely, you'll hear it. He said, it'll sound like a loud outdoor air conditioner.
From that far away. I'm surprised it's that loud.
1,800 feet.
Because I mean, I'm going to give it a bit for that. I
This
don't think
is
it's
what
that-
he told me.
Yeah,
I-
right.
I
That's
don't
bizarre
know.
because I don't think they're that loud.
Now, part of the thing is, I get this. I love this when people go, well, the decibels. Okay, home fans. When we do fans in HVAC, we do it by zones instead of by decibels.
Right.
And the reason
Yeah,
why
that's what I was- yeah.
the reason why we do it in zones is because it's a constant noise. And
Maybe that's why they do it this way too.
Same thing
right?
same thing in the military. A
reason.
constant white noise can cause you to hallucinate. It can cause you to hear voices. Now, what they're saying is, oh, now this isn't any louder than from a lot of people's places is what a normal conversation would be.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
some
well,
of the
that's
things
fine,
all.
but normal conversation goes up and down. There's rise and flexion of the voices. But if I was to talk monotone in the same all the time, all the way through, you know,
You'd fall
then
asleep.
all of a sudden, it's
I have narcolepsy. It really get me.
right. Yeah, I mean, how many people sit in a college class where you've got one of those professors that,
Ben Stein?
that just drones right through? You know, yeah. 5 seconds, I'm out, man.
Well, that's
Come on.
like in a car when you got the wheel noise.
Right.
Like it's a constant
That
noise.
Good place to
constant
sleep.
Noise.
It's like hypnotized.
Right, and
hypnotism.
so this is something that they're not really talking
I
about.
mean, I'm looking at this map. It looks like damn near the whole township is affected, except that
no, there's a
To
little
a certain point,
there's
yes.
east corner.
There's a little spot right there in the corner of that guy's barn.
Oh yes, yes. We could all
Those 3
We
acres.
could all get right there, and yes,
Yeah,
without
we
the
can all
sound.
live right there in
And I'm-
the corner.
and
of
I'm
his
wondering-
barn.
I wonder if those
it's
get
the
affected.
sub sound. It's like you say,
Yeah.
the white noise, the sound you don't hear.
Yeah.
That affects your heart. That affects your hearing, your ears. And they said that you cannot get away from it unless
Well, Chris,
you completely.
Chris, I guess you could say the flip side of that coin. People are going to say, "Prove it," right? Can you prove that that's going to, this?
Well,
is
there's
gonna-
been studies. There's
And I don't think it's definite though on this, right? Because obviously this is an industry that's not 100, 200 years old. It's an industry that has been that's manipulating, obviously on the world politics scale.
well, if you go to say prove it, you can only go back by what they've already done,
Right.
And then go.
That's what I'm saying. Is a lot of the data has probably
But then what they say is that the new turbines are different than the old turbines. 2 years
Yeah.
ago,
Yeah.
we don't
Right,
have
I
them
understand.
turbines. Okay, so you can't do a study on this.
it's very difficult, right?
It's very difficult to do a
Well, but they-
complete
but
study.
But they change the turbines all the time.
or the
it's-
way that the fins are shaped,
yeah,
and,
it's
or the height they
yeah,
change it
it's-
10 feet.
It's still ongoing science.
it's
right?
it's manipulation.
Yeah, it's still ongoing science. So there's going to be changes
How
as
many,
they go along. But
Chris? How many people in your community are against this? Out of 1351, if you had to take
just
a
him, just
shot in the
one.
barrel,
Just me, remember?
just you, right?
well,
Remember,
yeah,
just-
according
just
to them.
myself.
But I mean, do you think majority out of the 1351? Do you think the majority are like hell no?
Probably 1,000.
1,000.
Yes.
But your whole community agreed to these contracts.
No,
Not your whole community, but
no.
that's a large section.
Wait, there's only 80 contracts in our township.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. These are just the
Yeah.
areas that are affected.
You got to realize a farmer has one contract, but he has different plots.
20 acres.
He has
Well, in different
He
places.
has 400 acres here. He has 200 acres over
Shut
here.
up.
He has
I didn't
100
even think
acres
about
over
that.
here,
So,
800 over
so
there.
it's all
One
spread out.
contract.
Okay, so
But it's spread out everywhere but his home.
Oh my god!
Right.
What a nightmare.
yes, it's a
Out of all the
big nightmare.
out of the
Exactly.
contracts, how many people you think? Out of the contracts, how many people you think would like that are against it that have contracts?
As I know right now,
Handful?
about 30.
Wow, that many.
Yes.
That's damn near half.
Yes. All of the Amish, they want out of the contracts. They don't like it. We asked them even.
I mean, how much
You don't
Amish
even
you have
believe in
there?
energy. Why are you like
Yeah,
you signed
it's not
contract?
like they're gonna
we
get
thought we were going to
benefit
get
from
free
it.
money. Oh, they told you you're going to get free money, huh? That's why we signed a contract. No, it's not
Are
free
Amish
money.
liberals?
But no,
No, but everybody likes money.
if you count just all the Amish
So
themselves,
the money's already been given. Everybody's already got their money.
No,
No,
what he's saying is
no.
the Amish were promised
when they went
that
out
they would have
to
this money.
sign contracts,
But
people thought they were getting money.
Yeah, right. But the contract's already been signed, right?
Yes, you have
Yeah,
to sign the
contracts
contract
are
before
signed.
they
Okay,
even.
so when did they collect money? Do you know?
The people that own the property that signed the contract,
Yeah.
when the project goes in.
Once the project is
Well,
in
wait,
and
wait.
up and running, they were told that they get their footage where the transmission line has crossed
Okay.
their property, and they get their $20 an acre,
I
which
think
is only good for the first 2 years. Then it's
Yeah, you were showing me the
$10
numbers.
an
The
acre.
numbers are really silly.
But wait a
but
minute.
then
there's,
you have to wait a year for the megawatts. How many megawatts that particular wind turbine produces to
These
figure
people are
out
selling
what
out
they
their
get.
community for
and
$6,000-$7,000
oh,
a year.
Wait a minute. My wind turbine only produced 5 megawatts.
Yeah. So
Who's going to regulate this?
on ballpark on average, it was 5,000 to 6,000, 7,000 or something like that. They were selling out the community
So
for 5,000 to 7,000.
They
a
told
year.
everybody 10,000.
Now wait a
but-
minute. Here's another issue too. You ever hear of plane wings icing? And when plane wings ice, planes don't fly very well, do they?
Yeah, you're talking about in the winter time when there's no sun. No wind.
We live in Michigan, right?
Or that's in the winter.
We live in Michigan, and think about this.
Ice forms.
You got this big turbine going around, and it's a fiberglass.
Oh, you're thinking about the dangers of ice?
It
Is that where you're
flies
going with
over
that?
1
Well,
mile.
they-
They have
yeah.
found that it flies
The
over 1
icicles?
mile.
No,
the
not
chunks of
icicles.
ice.
Here's what happens.
It can
you
take
get
out
sheets.
car
What?
windshields.
Shut up.
You get
It can
sheets
kill
of ice.
people. Yes.
So what they have to do, the other thing is, it's heavy
No,
on the
it's
turbine.
true.
It's heavy on the turbine. It wears on those great, big, huge, expensive.
Generators.
No, the bearing,
Gears?
the
Bearings?
bearing and bushing.
Yep.
Where that comes through, it wears on that. The other thing is, it causes the turbine to not operate proper, and it changes the pitch of the blades. So what they have to do is, you ever see them de-ice a
Yeah,
plane
you
wing?
spray it.
They go out there and they spray that thing. Well, how do you think you spray a turbine?
It's
You
500
have
feet.
to hire a helicopter with this stuff, and they fly over them, and they dump this de-icer on them, and it goes everywhere.
Well, shut up.
This
So
gets
they
really good,
they
yeah.
dump antifreeze on them,
Yeah.
and that goes
Yeah.
just right on the ground.
Well,
I wonder if that's EPA approved.
it's green, right? This is
It's
green,
green
energy.
energy, yeah.
So is that
Great.
is that in their books that they're going to come out and
No,
de-ice?
no,
No, but they have
It's not
to.
in their books that they send a crew out to pick up all the dead birds. That's not in their books.
But see, it's job
But-
creation because we got to hire some people
Yeah.
to do that.
What
They
about the
hire people-
liability? What if one breaks and it kills a cow? Or
Well,
is
then
any of
the-
that in there?
Well, then the cow is dead.
The cow's dead.
Yeah, but I mean, is there liability
No.
things in there? you
Well,
think?
Chris even
They've
went.
sold this wind farm to Consumers Energy.
Well,
Now
they're
it's
going to.
consumers.
They already did
yeah,
it?
now
Yeah.
it's Consumers Energy's problem.
No,
Not-
have they sold it already?
Yeah,
it's done.
The contracts are done. Here's
They've already
the,
signed it,
now here's the other thing.
but it's not even existing.
But the
yet.
money hasn't exchanged
Chris,
hands
Chris,
yet, has it?
Chris and I sat down and looked at the drain commission map
Jesus,
with
guys,
these as an overlay.
There's just so many rabbit holes here. I mean,
Now,
I
wait a
just
minute,
go
wait
into
a
the
minute.
drains. I'm like all over the place thinking, like,
hold
what
on.
the
This
hell's
is
going
an
on?
aquifer, and I have an artesian well on my property, and I asked
That gets
the
people going. Aquifer
I asked the
word?
DEQ, has there been any studies about artesian wells where it's natural water? And
Yeah.
they said no. We've studied the Thumb area, the Gratiot County up in Ithaca. Everything is cased wells. I said, well, ours are not cased wells.
What did
We
Matt,
have natural
what Matt
flowing-
had to say about that?
Hmm?
Isn't his name Matt, the Drain Commission?
Well, that's what I was trying to get into when you so rudely cut me off.
Yeah, sorry.
Sorry.
We cut each other off all
Yeah,
the time.
but
on
anyway.
this. Well, John does all the time.
But one of the things we took a drain map and we took the wind turbine map and kind of placed them over the top of each other and started drawing this out and looking at it. You've got now these bases. When they put these bases in, it's
They're huge.
What's the diameter of them?
18 feet around.
18. They're
18
18 feet, but they're 20
to the bedrock.
feet. They're 20 feet deep. 20 feet. Now, how many people around here have ever seen the Drain Commission?
No, they go 100 feet.
Yeah, they have to be.
They've
deeper
told
than
us that they
if it's
go
500 feet
100.
tall.
Yeah, to the bedrock, and they say it's approximately 100 feet in our
Right,
township.
but what they do is they drive pilings down. Then on top of those pilings, they pour.
But when they're
20 foot.
driving them down, it creates a
right.
sediment.
But what I'm
where-
talking about is just this hunk of concrete.
Okay,
Okay.
the huge hunk of
the
concrete they're
great
going to
big
leave in
huge
there.
hunk
Okay.
of concrete that actually acts as a weight to keep these things upright
From tipping over.
From tipping over. It's 20 foot deep. Now, how many people have ever seen the drain commissioner dig down 20 feet to put a tile in for the drain?
I don't think it goes that
Yeah,
deep.
it doesn't. So what's
No.
going to happen is we looked at this thing and we've got these great big 20-foot bases right on top of drains. And some of them
Shut
right
up.
next to drains.
No, the
And
Williams
so-
drains.
so
all
Chris
that-
went to
That's
the-
probably the hardest trigger if you think about this, because people are concerned about water, particularly farmers.
Well, here's a little thing that happened to
The
me.
farmers want the money. They don't care about
Little
the
thing
water.
little thing that happened to me that just this year is I've owned my house for 23 years. Okay, built it brand new. I've been paying taxes for 23 years. Now, a certain portion of my tax was supposed to be going to the Sand Lake drain area, right?
Right by your house?
Right by my house.
Okay.
Which none of my water makes it there because my whole lot is sand, right? So none of it makes it there. But they say I'm part of that watershed.
You're within it, yeah.
So just this year they said, well, we need to redo some of the drains. So they wanted to put a special assessment on my taxes to help me pay to help redo the drain. And I said, no, wait a minute. What have you done with my money for the last 23 years? Because you haven't done anything on my drain, but I've been paying into it for 23 years. Why do I have to pay more now?
Because you're paying for other people's
Because
drains.
you wanted, that's right.
I see Matt, I believe it was his
Matt.
name is Matt.
It's Matt Word.
So I was looking at his where the money was spending.
Uh-huh.
There was like drains out there that were 300,000, 339,000, I think it was, that I saw on a particular drain that they were working on. So that means like, and I was asking Matt, can each community pay for their own drains where they're at in those communities, so it's not based around the whole county?
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a way to do this, and I don't think there's going to be, but it would. So if you had a drain down here in South Hillsdale, why am I pitching into that from Somerset?
Well, here's the
Okay,
thing.
but
You're only supposed to be putting into it if your watershed is
That's what I'm
going
saying.
into it. But here's
So they're spreading that money
But
around,
here's
aren't
the
they?
problem. Here's the problem.
It's like a general money.
Here's the
fund.
problem with this. They went to Matt Word and they said, look, if these drains stop working and Wheatland starts getting flooded and we need to take care of it, who's going to pay to fix the drains?
So they did. Someone did go to Matt.
Yeah, and he said, well,
Sure did.
I'm sure these companies thought about it. Okay, this is the
No,
answer. I'm
that
sure
was
these
his
companies
answer?
thought
That's
about
the
it.
answer.
So my whole thing is, well, you know what? I'm sure people thought about a lot of things, but when crap hits the fan, right? If it's not written in paper and signed by somebody,
Who
there's
went
no
to Matt?
contract.
Did
Nothing's
the
going to
board,
happen.
or was it like you?
I didn't go to Matt.
Who went to Matt?
No.
It was one of the people in the Informed Citizens Group, Wheatland.
But I guess I'm assuming maybe.
And
none
he
of the
told him that they should take care of
I'm
themselves.
going to ask him if any of the township people asked, like on these boards.
Right, but the thing is,
You can ask him, but I'm sure he didn't.
I guarantee
he
you-
just heard about it.
yeah, his idea is, well, these companies
Issues.
they've done it everywhere. These companies are big; they'll take care of it, right? Well, when you were up in the thumb area, and talking to them, and their drain stopped working, who paid for it?
Nobody.
The people did.
Oh yeah.
The people
yeah.
paid for
I
it.
asked Invenergy if they were going to pay for a new well if mine went dry because it changes the sediment on my artesian well. And
Right.
they said, no, we're not going to take care of it.
No, you can turn that in on your
Turn
house
that
insurance.
in on your homeowner's insurance.
Shut up.
Yeah,
No,
that's
what
this
they
is
told
their
me.
idea.
You got to pay your deductible. Your insurance going to go up.
Yeah, sure.
Yes.
So what's going to happen?
Everybody's
And
insurance
I have
will go up in the
I have
community.
a pond that feeds a lake all by artesian wells. This could all dry up.
Now, here's the thing. This is why people say, look, in everywhere else that they've studied, property values drop by about 30% with these
Between
wind farms.
27 and 43%. So we do a conservative 30%.
So 30%, okay? And they go, oh, no, it doesn't. Well, okay, it does. When I have to pay for new drains, I have to pay for a new well, I have to pay for my pond
expensive.
going
It's
dry.
real expensive.
My insurance goes up because now I'm turning these things in on my homeowner's insurance.
You got to pay the deductible.
And then the insurance company says, well, we've got this whole area where everything's gone up because they're turning in all this stuff. So they go to the rate companies and they go, well, we want to up the rates. Yeah, okay, go ahead, up the rates. So now when you have to buy all these rates and you have to do all this stuff, that makes your property worth less and it makes it harder to sell.
Also, for assessing, it probably lowers this. I mean, they probably get hurt taxation that way. But
No, they're not going to drop your taxes.
No, they're not
Trust
going to
me on
drop your
that.
taxes.
but
Another thing is, we now don't have a fire department that will go to Wheatland Township. We used to have Addison Township.
I know you guys are fighting with them.
The township of, the town of Addison.
Yeah.
Right. They're moving out on the 12, their new facility. So they don't want to take care of Wheatland Township. We're going to have 33 wind turbines that catch on fire. Who's going to take care of it?
Now you got how
And how long is it going to take you to get there?
and how are you going to put one out 400, what
500 feet in
500
the air.
foot in the air.
Well, no, because they usually catch fire
But the
at
hub.
the 290 feet.
at the
hub.
290. Yeah.
But you got to go down a special service drive. Are they closed off? Is it locked so nobody can get to it? There's a lot of issues there.
yeah.
They didn't even
none of
think
those things
about.
have been worked out.
Wow. I didn't think about a fire.
Yeah.
And I
They
see them
catch
online
fire.
on fire.
Yeah,
Look
they
on
catch
Informed
fire.
Citizens Wheatland Township. There's quite a few YouTube videos.
I didn't even think
of
about that, but I have seen them on fire on because I googled that to see what it looked like.
Right.
Wow,
they do
that's,
catch on
that's
fire.
crazy. I didn't even think about that one.
And in volunteer fire departments, I'm sure they get special training on
What
how
did
to put out a wind
Oh,
turbine.
yeah, they do. That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Hey, what did Tim Shaw think about all this? County Commissioner Tim Shaw.
He's from your district.
Sure, I
You
don't know. I
didn't-
haven't talked to him.
Well, you haven't gone to your county commissioner to say, hey, what the hell's
No,
going
I
on here?
haven't.
Well, wait a minute. He's also wasn't he also the Addison fire chief?
Yeah, he's the Addison
there
fire
you
chief,
go.
by the way.
Oh, he was at our meeting.
Oh,
He
Okay.
was at our township meeting. I didn't know he was the commissioner.
you
Oh,
mean
he
the
was.
township meeting
He
where
just
illegal
resigned.
votes were happening?
Yes, he was.
Oh, well, look at there.
He was. Oh, wait, he was there when they. No.
Yes. Tim Shaw was there.
Sorry, I'm sorry. I had to
I
bring
did
that out.
not. But
John,
to be fair,
no, that's-
to be fair, I didn't know he was my county
Well,
commissioner.
Doesn't matter.
That's not being fair. What do you mean? Like to be fair?
Well,
to be
okay,
fair
well,
is he
I
should have stood up and
didn't
said
know.
something himself.
Yeah.
You know, you think he would
Complacency's
know, right?
complacency, right?
Wow, that's John. So okay, so I don't know if you know. Okay, Tim Shaw is the fire chief of Edison.
Yes,
He's
I do
also,
know that.
He's also
An
was
elected
at the
trustee.
time. He was an elected trustee in Somerset Center, where I'm from.
Okay.
Well, Somerset Township, I mean. And then he became county commissioner for District 5, which is our
Appointed.
district.
Was it appointed or voted?
That was a voted.
Voted. Okay.
Okay, so he didn't resign from the chief position. He didn't resign from the trustee position, which he should because you can only serve one master.
Mm-hmm.
But Addison has contracts within Hillsdale County, right?
Well, yeah, he was the commissioner setting over emergency services in 911.
Well, hold on here.
Yeah.
Hold on. So he collects paychecks from this stuff, right? He gets So Mark Wiley puts him on the emergency services. I'm Commissioner Mark Wiley for District. Is that 1, John? I don't know what number he's in, but
Mark Wiley?
Mark Wiley's the chair, and what he does is he appoints positions for these people for committees, and he appointed Tim Shaw for the emergency services. I would assume why because
Mark Wiley's in 3.
3. Okay, but I would assume the reason why is because of his experience as the fire chief, right? That would make sense. But he did not leave all.
Or
those
buddies will be buddies. But anyway,
So
He's mentioned in the minutes of the meeting.
Okay, so the first thing he does, he ran under a conservative ticket too, Chris. He ran under the Republican ticket, conservative ticket. I've never seen him at a Republican meeting though.
Okay.
But he
ran under that.
He ran under that. The first
Okay.
thing he does is push for ambulance services millage.
That's what he was there for.
Okay. He pushes for the sheriff millage. He pushes so he wants to spend all this money on all these first responder services that he's in chair of. You know,
He gave us little pamphlets.
and one of the bad things
And
is
that's what we voted on, which we only had 16 vote to do the 911.
Oh yeah, he was of course anything with relation
So
to
that's why Tim Shaw was there.
But one of the bad things is too, he decides what the matrix. He was one of the ones that helped decide what the matrix was to pay other ambulance services to come into the area.
He was on the ambulance board.
Okay,
He did resign from that
but
position.
but there was a business right here in Hillsdale that 3 times had to call an ambulance because of people in distress, and they had to wait a half an hour for ambulances to come from Addison to come pick the people up in Hillsdale when we've got Reading Emergency Unit right down the street. So
I mean, I got a lot of dirt.
I'm just talking
on
facts now.
I have a
think-
lot of dirt on this dude. It's
So-
it's wild on what he's been involved in.
yeah, I think Tim Shaw, though, left the meeting in the middle before they voted on each section.
Oh,
I think he
okay.
kind of knew to leave.
Well, he went ahead and resigned from District 5 County Commissioner just recently,
oh,
and that's what I'm running. That's what I'm.
that's because he was appointed as the township supervisor for.
so
Now he's the township supervisor of Somerset Center.
Okay.
That Fire Addison board voted 2-1 that he can't hold both positions because he's supposed to let them know in advance
right.
that he's got this new position. Well, he didn't do that.
He didn't
and
let 'em know.
At their board, they went ahead and vote 2-0. He can't be on both boards. He still said, you know what? No, I'm still going to do it. I don't care what you guys voted on because it has to be 3/4 of a vote.
Sounds good.
So he's saying that he can.
So it's got to be 75%, and they've only got 3 people, so you can never have any more than 66%
That's right.
or 100%. So you either have 100% or 66%. This is ridiculous.
And
that is absolute.
And that's what
asinine.
that's what they our friend sent over to me.
So he resigned as commissioner to
be the township supervisor in my town.
But he's still on the Edison board, right?
He's
So-
still fire chief.
So who is the commissioner for Wheatland Township then?
We don't have that, and that's what I'm going in for tomorrow because they're going to appoint someone, and I put my name in the hat to
Along
be the
with
county
Tina
commissioner.
Stone.
Along with Tina Stone.
She's protecting the interest because they don't want this to get out. What's going on?
Kevin Grubbs. I don't know where he's from. I think he's from Wright.
Kevin's good people.
I could give you some dirt on Tina Stone if you'd like. I don't want to do that.
I'm not going to sling mud
No.
tomorrow.
Thank you.
We got
But
Bernie Pickell.
Kevin Grubbs is good people.
I don't know who he is. I can't.
Bernie Pickell's good people.
I just talked to Bernie on the way here. Told him let the good man win.
Are
or
these
whatever.
people
Bernie's good people.
representing what area?
Our area, everything on the right side of our
On the
of our
east
county.
side of the county, coming all the way down.
So
So
we
you're
got
saying Adams
Somerset,
Township,
This is it.
Moscow,
Here,
Somerset,
These are all the
Wheatland.
places. Check it out.
right there.
I got all the
So
statistics.
it's all the way down the east side. So it's Somerset, Wheatland, Wright, and
Waldron
and
Waldron.
Adams.
and Pittsford.
Pittsford.
Or Pittsford. I'm sorry, not Adams.
Not
it's
Adams,
Pittsford.
yeah.
It's Pittsford. It's Somerset, Wheatland, Pittsford, and Wright,
And Waldron.
And Waldron.
The village of Waldron.
and Village of Waldron,
Yeah.
which is in
Waldron's
Wright
on here.
Township.
That's right. So that's what District 5 represents. And Somerset's the second largest voting block.
So you have registered voters as 1,000 in Wheatland Township, right?
Okay, so Wheatland, registered voter. Yep, that's 1,009. That was for a smaller election for the primary. So
Right.
the primary there was 1,009 for the general election, where a lot of people come out to vote, which is not the important vote. The primary is the most important.
Yeah,
But they
especially in Hillsdale.
They come out for the general. It was 1,019. But if you notice in the primary, only in Wheatland, 15.66% voted.
That's it.
Right, 96
I know it.
people
Yep.
in your community came out to vote on the primary, the most important election that they all have.
Mm-hmm.
96.
Whoever wins
And
the
right
primary
now I have
wins the
120
general.
that's going to vote for
So
against this
so
ordinance.
for Wheatland, when the general comes around, they had 62.51%. So they had a really good turnout for them, which was 473 people.
And that's really
Good.
good because on the general election you got one person to vote for.
Yeah. See,
Right.
so on a primary, you have multiple people to vote for.
Right.
And a general, you only have one.
Yeah.
Like
Whoever won the primary.
Well, you
because
have two.
know in Hillsdale.
Well, John, technically you have two. You have two parties. So you have a
Well-
Democrat, Republican.
well,
in
well,
Hillsdale
you
County,
could have 3 parties.
No. In Hillsdale County, you have one
yeah,
party.
Name a Democrat throughout the county that's won.
Well, that's true.
You have one
so-
party.
But you
And
have-
this is the reason why we've got so many people with progressive ideologies that run as Republicans. They're what we call it rhinos,
So-
Republicans in name
So
only.
check this out, guys. Registered voters, all right, throughout our District 5, right?
Okay.
We got Pittsford, 18.31%. This is the primary, 18.31%. Somerset 1 and Somerset 2 is 21 and 23%. Wheatland's got 15 and Wright's got 18. Okay, so that's the percentages that people come out and vote.
Correct.
During
In
the
the
general
primary.
election, that's primary. General election, which who cares now at
Which
this point
now
because
it's beyond the point.
everybody's already got their position
Yeah.
set.
Right.
67%, almost 68, 70%, 62%, and 60%. That's
Wow.
Isn't this crazy? Like, how do we get real change if this is what's going on?
With apathy, you can't.
You
With
know,
apathy,
that's
you're just going to get more of the same.
you can't get. You got 15 people on the take in your community. You can't get them out with this type of scenario. You can't get them out.
Well, I wouldn't say that. We can get 'em
I
out.
take that back. It's going to be a struggle.
It'll be a struggle. I
Right?
know it.
I mean, like a big struggle. We know that. John knows that because he runs for a position every year or every time every 4 years. So it's just unbelievable that we need to get the word out that the primary is the important one, right?
Get out and vote. Yes.
Yeah, on the primary day. It's more important than the general day.
Exactly. And don't just pull one ticket. Pull for the right person.
Well, that's the thing too. A lot of people do straight tickets in Hillsdale County. A Republican ticket. I guess it's okay to do in a sense because we're all running Republican, but and you're going to see multiple Republicans. But we need to get the word out and who's constitutional sounded, or that's more sound constitutional sound. You got to get these people in and get these other people out. It's not that those people on those boards are necessarily evil people or bad people. What happens is
I think they're stupid.
Well, I don't. They are ignorant.
They got to be. They got to be. I mean, if you just ignore it,
it's not a bad word to say that you're uninformed or
that's ignorance. Uninformed.
Yeah, it's what it is these. You get into a system, and then you insulate yourself from the noise, and then you do 10 good things. And then you do one bad thing, you hide behind the 10 good things.
What I told them is when they were looking at adopting this, and they said everybody in the room wanted it. I said, did you send a letter out to everybody in the township? Because everybody in the room could be all Invenergy people, as far as I know. So they said, no, we're not sending it out.
And this is the disconnect between government and citizen, because they don't know.
So you need to be informed and you need to vote.
Well, a newspaper ad ain't going to cut it. It will not cut it. A newspaper ad, nobody reads the newspaper.
I'm glad you went to will not instead.
I know, but I don't mind my slang. Okay, so
drives me insane.
Chris,
yes.
the newspaper is not going to cut it. Right,
no.
The viewership is just not there.
It's not there. No.
All right. So how does government? I mean, sending out flyers to everybody is not efficient either.
It's not efficient. Unless you're in a small community.
You send a letter out that's 40 cents per customer on average. And you got 1,000 people in your community. How much is that? $400.
Well, you can do bulk mail for 19 cents, but
there you go.
In a large county,
right?
What's that?
That'd be $200 still.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money. So why waste that money? There has to be a better way to get to these people without spending money, or like John and I were talking about, have a Facebook page for that community. Wheatland has a government page where people can go to easily, but make multiple places of something like this.
But the problem is in Hillsdale, you got so many people that go, well, that Facebook is the devil, Bobby. Yeah, they all think it's the devil.
Well, I've had our Facebook page running up with Informed Citizens Wheatland Township, and I would say probably about 20 to 25%.
See, John,
don't have Facebook.
Right.
Yeah. I thought you were going to say. Okay, so what we're seeing out in our community here on these other groups, we're seeing at least 30 to 40% now. I think it's getting larger by like every quarter. I would say at least 30, maybe even to 40% are on these groups already. So throughout all of Hillsdale County. So that's a large sector. But can we incorporate like something such as Facebook?
But that's also a younger sector that doesn't normally vote.
I agree. So is there a way?
That's where the problem comes in.
Well, is there a way to do multiple platforms, whether it be online or something else, online and doing the newspaper or both?
There is, but here's
you're
the problem.
talking about communities that don't have a lot of money. There's a lot of people
none of this costs money. Facebook's free, and
no. What I'm getting to is that in Wheatland Township, we don't get the internet. Most people out there don't even have the internet. All my neighbors say, "What's the best internet?" It's so super slow, they can't even do anything.
So it would have been better for
they don't even have
company to come in rather than a wind company.
Oh, much better, much better. Exactly. We do need that, but no, this is the truth.
But honestly,
they're not on it.
But honestly, Chris, that's why when heads have to get together and figure out these platforms and how to get this out.
There's ways to get. I'm sorry, people are going to judge me wrong for this, and I don't really care. When you run for a position, nobody holds a gun to your head. You do it of your own free will, right? And if it takes a lot of work, I love it how these people go, well, we only make so much. We don't get paid. You know what? I do my regular business. I work someday. Sometimes I've worked a whole month for free because somebody needed it, and I did it because they needed it.
You're talking about the government employees.
That's right.
Or the elected officials.
Elected officials.
They cry because they're not making enough money.
These elected officials go, well, I only make this much. Yeah. Well, you volunteered for it.
Then don't do it.
Get your butt out there and do some work. Go do these things that need to be done. I don't care if you got to go. You went door to door knocking to get elected. You can't go door to door knocking to tell people what's going on in their community. That's what they hired you for. They elected you to be an elected official.
They were shocked when I videotaped the first township
Oh, I
meeting.
can only imagine.
Oh, yeah.
They looked at me like, "What are you doing?"
Listen, man, I had to deal with it a lot.
yeah.
now, man.
I said, "I'm getting
Yeah.
people informed of what's going on around here."
Were they mad when you were filming?
They couldn't say anything about it, and they didn't know me at the
No,
time.
but were they like-
they're super mad now.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. They want to block
we,
me and
we
close
used to
me
we
off
used to
and-
get the same thing.
I said people that can't come here because you have such a small area, only 40, 50 people can fit in here.
Yeah.
We have 1,000 people in our township.
Listen,
But-
it took it took
Hello?
like 4 or 5 months for Scipio to get used to me. It took 4 or 5 months for Village North Adams to get used to me.
Oh yeah.
It really. What
Are
it
they
is.
used to you?
Oh yeah, it's almost like a joke now. Like, oh, John's here. Like yeah. like-
Well, one of them wasn't used to you. He tried to take your cell phone from your hand and
Well-
assaulted you.
Well, Adams Township.
But,
Adams Township. It took a little bit more loving, but but no, it took a while for because they think you're there on the yeah
Tough love.
well, Chris, they think you're there on the attack, so they're defensive right away,
Right.
and that's
Right.
not the case. You're there to make everybody honest.
But the thing is, when
That's what
somebody
I'm there.
gets to-
All I asked is that they go back and do it right, put it up for a vote of the people. And then what the people say, if they bring it in, they bring it in. If they vote it out, they vote it out.
Oh, you're asking
But
way too
do the-
much. You're asking way too much. Have the people
I
decide
know I'm
that's way
asking too much. That's not what they wanted.
Well-
but the thing is they wanted to run it.
Not
the way
everybody
they
has
wanted.
contracts. They might not vote for it.
So this has to. So tomorrow, just so you know, they're going to appoint a county commissioner, whether it be myself or 5 other people that are running. There's a woman that's out of Somerset. Her name's Namu, from my understanding. I'm not really familiar with her. She's running. Bernie Pickell, he's our old township supervisor that's running. He's on
Bernie
the-
Pickell's good people.
I mean, if I'm ultra conservative, Chris, so he's
So we'll know this tomorrow?
yeah, we'll know this tomorrow at about 11:30. Well, I think the interview's in about
How-
11:30.
How can I find out about this? Can I go there? Or can
Yeah,
I-
it's a county commissioner meeting.
Are you not
And
familiar
where's
with
it
Starts
this?
at
at?
9:00.
Okay, so
Every other
there's a
Tuesday.
new building that was built right behind here.
No, it's
Oh,
not.
I know about that.
Okay.
It's the old paper building. It wasn't built. It
Yeah,
just
John, I'm not
remodeled.
from Hillsdale. I've been here 7 years.
I've been there.
Okay, so the old paper building. And,
Can't get there from here.
well.
What papers are you guys handling?
So no, tomorrow morning. These meetings. I don't know when the meeting starts.
They always start at 9:00 usually.
Yeah,
I don't know
but I don't think that's my. I go on at like 11:10. I want to say.
Okay.
They're giving each person 15 minutes. They're going to interview us
Okay.
publicly. So I gotta after this meeting here, I gotta go home and try to
So you got a curtain call?
Who does the vote?
Well, there's 4 people on this board. I don't know how they're going to vote because there's 4 people, right? So this is kind of weird.
What if it's 2 and 2?
Well, what it's supposed to be is it's supposed to be the chairman of the board is not supposed to vote. The chairman of the board is
Okay.
only supposed to vote if there is a tiebreaker.
So you got Julie Games, you got Ruth Brown, you
Do
got
they have
Bruce
a
Caswell.
quorum?
Well, you got 3 out of 5.
Okay.
So you're good to go. And I'm assuming, well, John and I were wondering if they're going to, if Mark's going to go ahead and vote on this, and he's
because he's not supposed to.
the chair, right? And he's not supposed to. So we'll see if they create like a 2-2 situation.
Is this going to be videotaped?
Yeah, Penny Swan's going to be there.
Okay, good.
So she's going to film. They also film their own meetings now, supposedly as well. I've never gone on their YouTube page, but I heard their like video production breaks down a lot. So,
Oh.
so that's why Penny
isn't
goes.
that odd?
Well, I don't believe in the conspiracy, but
No, I'm not saying a conspiracy. I'm just saying, isn't that odd?
yeah. So Penny goes there
Here you
just
got
to,
somebody with a cell phone doing it for free, has way better quality than what we paid for.
Yeah, we paid like $3,000
That's
for that. That came out of your
unbelievable.
taxpaying dollars.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you paid
really.
for it.
Yeah.
You just can't
I
watch
think
it
it
on
was
the
great.
stuff.
I think it was
That's
$3,000.
super.
I didn't see the receipt, so don't
Hey,
say
my
that as
money's
fact.
wasted all the time. Why not?
So yeah, that's tomorrow. So we'll have a new county commissioner tomorrow.
Oh, they're actually going to
They'll
put the county commissioner in tomorrow. It's not like they're interviewing people and it's
No,
and
no, they're-
we hear about it in a month. They're actually going to say.
Yeah, I don't even know how they're going to convene. Like, I don't know
Oh.
how they're going to do this publicly. It's going to be kind of awkward, I think, because there's 6 of us. That's a lot of people, and we're all going to be in the damn room together with friends and family that are decide they want to show up to support us. I guess.
So you'll be there alone?
What a jerk! What a jerk.
That was off the wall.
Yeah. He likes to get me, but
Nothing but love.
it's gonna be.
Yeah,
I think
there you go.
it's gonna be sort of a weird situation because they're gonna be talking about us, right?
Did they give you
Publicly.
a set of questions or what to
No. So that's the thing.
What are your qualifications?
Well, they wanted a cover letter and a resume.
Okay.
So that's what
You know, but here's one of the other things. I had this conversation with one of the other county commissioners. He said, "Well, we need to have somebody experienced and qualified." And I said, "Boy, that sounds just like Woodrow Wilson, right?" Woodrow Wilson and the Progressives said, "Well, we can't have government being run by just the people.
A lot of people don't know.
We need to have these professional administrators do it."
A lot of people don't know why Woodrow Wilson's bad, John. So
Right.
He brought in the progressive ideology of direct democracy. That's why.
If you're into conservatism, if you're into the founding father principles, your only qualification that you need is to be a citizen,
Right.
right? And then, generally speaking, you don't want to be close to government because
That's what the problem is.
Yeah, once you're close to government, you're apathetic to that.
Yeah, you do
Correct.
things like have votes with when you've got an interest in it and you don't recuse yourself.
Oh,
and
I see.
Things like that.
So you
happen.
try-
things like that.
So
Okay.
generally speaking, you want someone that has skin in the
Morals.
game. Someone that has skin in the game, like so. A lot of times, like if you got someone that like has their own business and they're partaking in local government or they're partaking in the community, as far as
Not
activism.
participating.
Or participating. Yeah, that's what I mean.
Okay.
They're
I
like,
knew you were
they're-
looking for a P word.
Yeah. So
Is this a job you really want?
well, the thing is
The best qualified for the job is the one who doesn't want it.
doesn't want it? Okay.
well, that's, what it is it's intimidating, right? Because it's a situation where you're going to be under scrutiny, especially someone like me. I'd probably be under heavier scrutiny than the rest of those people. And the reason why is because I scrutinize people. So like I'm going to get the arrows slung at me. So of course, but
But it's good to have somebody like that.
well, I'm honest and open about everything in my
Well,
life, for good or bad.
Then you just disqualified yourself.
Well, no, he just made himself a no good politician.
there you go.
Right.
He's not a good
I'm
politician.
sorry,
You know,
John.
for good and bad in my life, I'm open about it. I wear the skeletons in the front yard. So people have known, like, I can say things and get away with it because of this.
Right.
I'm like Eminem, the rapper. He raps about himself, and then the other rapper can't rap about him in a battle.
Exactly,
rap.
yeah.
And I do that. So, but it also creates.
He always goes to the rap thing.
Yeah. But it intimidates people too, like because they don't know how to handle it because it's not something that they handle every day.
Right. Right.
So
They got into government not to be under scrutiny.
Well,
they got into government for.
I'm not their adversary. I'm there to be.
Right.
I'm a good challenge for them. Like I'm not a yes man. And
That's what you need.
Yeah, so I'm going to scrutinize when something comes up. I'm going to scrutinize it,
Okay.
and sometimes people don't want that. So we'll see if
No, because we
But
want the wind
sometimes people
turbines.
need that.
there's cliche when
We
you
always need that.
There's a lot of
Yes,
cliche
that's
when
true.
you're dealing with government. They want young people to get involved, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's the average age of that board?
70?
And then when you get
I don't know.
so,
Well, wait. Let's qualify that. We want young people to get involved and do what we tell them to do. That's what we want,
Yeah,
right?
so-
That's really what they want.
So, and then the people that are applying, we didn't mention Gary Leininger. Is that how you say his name?
Leininger?
Leininger.
Yeah.
So he was the old treasurer. So we got a guy that's already been involved in county government. That's going to
He
be
shouldn't
applying.
be disqualified.
Well, I mean, according to us, right? So,
Okay,
well,
according to
the
us.
thing that should disqualify him is his unethical behavior in the 2016 election, in which he was backing candidates while he was part of the
election.
county election commission.
Oh,
That's
you
as
can't-
unethical as you can get.
I was going to say that.
Whoa.
Whoa.
You got Bernie Pickell. He's old
He's
township
good people.
supervisor. He's if I don't win, he's the next guy you would want to win.
He's farmer,
very-
common sense.
He's conservative.
He's on the
he has no
fair
problem.
board,
He has no problem saying sorry, I screwed up.
and he doesn't have any problem telling you where you screwed up either.
So you asked me about the commissioner, Nat. How does a commissioner, how are they in relation to a township like ours?
Okay, so they can help bring leadership to that community. So, like for an example, if I was in District 5, which Wheatland is in District 5,
Correct.
I'd be at your town hall meeting every single time, first and foremost. And not only is it going to be filmed, because we're going to keep everybody honest, because every word they get, if the film doesn't happen, what happens is he said, she said.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly.
So
And
you
people go, I didn't say that.
right. So you have to.
Then you go by the minutes of the meetings, which
Plus,
Which
Maybe
we
right or
which
may
you
not
just
be
found
right.
out aren't
Yeah.
correct.
plus
Exactly.
it holds that board, it holds their feet to the fire that they
Right.
it makes them do their job properly, right? Or should at least.
Right.
If you're
Okay.
gonna do the job, just do it right.
As a commissioner, I have, and I'm in a position of leadership. I represent you too, right? Like I serve you, right?
Okay.
I serve you, the citizen, Joe the citizen. And I see this board acting immoral and doing things illegal or unconstitutionally. I'm going to stand up and say something. Say, I'm your county commissioner, and I'm seeing you guys act this way. Now, nobody's done this. I mean, I'm not going to say nobody's done this. I don't think this has happened too often in our community.
I've never
So how
seen
come
it.
Tim Shaw didn't do anything about?
Probably because he didn't even know it was illegal going on.
You see, this is the thing.
Because he was sitting on a board illegally.
We don't have enough constitutional-minded people in our community in leadership, and this is the thing. If
The more you look away, the better you
I
are.
I called a handful of township supervisors and Commissioner Bruce Caswell on when a local guy got roughed up by the sheriff department, arrested and charged illegally, and then he went through the court system and they plead him down. He took a charge that he didn't do nothing wrong.
And he was innocent on
He
his
was
own
innocent.
property, but had to take a plea.
And he took
Really?
a plea, right? So I called township supervisors, including my own, Scott Burns in Somerset, and each township, all the township people, or all the township supervisors, two of them were indecisive. They didn't know what to say. But my question was, is there a room or is there a place for leadership, like townships?
And what should the leadership do?
Like, do they have a place to stand up and say, this isn't going to happen in my community? Because that's your citizen.
Right.
You serve that citizen.
Exactly.
Should a township if the sheriff came to your township and you're the township supervisor and he roughed up one of your citizens wrongfully, shouldn't the leadership stand up and say that's wrong?
Yes.
It's like somebody come into my house. And
If you
roughing
believe
somebody
it's
up in my
wrong, you
house.
should stand up and say it's wrong.
Right, but
should stand to be counted.
so
Yes.
so two people said they didn't know, including Somerset Center, Mike Scott Burns, which I actually
He didn't know what.
Didn't know what he would do. Or what
He didn't know if
could
he'd
do.
stand up.
He didn't know if there was place for that in that position. Okay, now
Okay.
I like Scott Burns. He's about 80% constitutional, in my opinion. He's a pretty conservative dude on many situations, and I think he can actually be. He's humble. He'll look at something and go, oh, you know what? That's probably the way that we should do this. But all the other township supervisors, I would say it was about 6 or 7 actually that I called. The rest of them said there's no room. They wouldn't do anything. And Bruce Caswell did the politicking thing too. There's no room for this is where I'm going to be standing up on the stand tomorrow, and I want to convey this, but if I stand up and I tell them that I'm going to stand up against corruption, that means they got to be held accountable too. They're going to have to stand up against corruption as well,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
They're not going to want that.
They're not going to want that.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Well, there's 3 votes against you. Well, actually 4, 5.
But that's who I am,
Mm-hmm.
right? And if
Do you want the position?
I'm not going to sell myself as a whore.
No, I just said, do you want the position?
It's not. Listen, I'm not going to go along to get along.
Right.
Okay?
I don't.
I'm going to be me.
That you should be.
So I'll be me, and if
He
they
wants the position, but he's not going to change to get it.
exactly
You shouldn't.
exactly. So
That's why I want to know. How bad do you want the position?
yeah, I don't need.
Enough
I
Don't
don't.
that he's-
sell yourself
yeah.
out.
Right.
He wants it bad enough. He's not going to change who he is to get it, right?
What
It's
I want to
not-
know.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So we'll see how this works tomorrow. It's going to be a very dynamic situation tomorrow. I actually think 2 of the out of the 3 that should be voting are indecisive and actually.
You want me to tell you who's going to win?
Who do you think?
The person who tells them what they want to hear.
Yeah. Well, I get that a lot too, but we
I
get a lot of influence. Believe it or not.
I was up in a company far enough where I was hiring people in that, and it's always the person who tells you what you want to hear.
I would say I would agree 100%. But the thing is,
But that's wrong.
no, I
It
generally
shouldn't-
speaking would agree with you. The thing is we've seen an influence the last 3 years in this county. We've had a huge influence. John and I, and Penny, and anybody else that's been involved with the.
In fact, people who used to like us hate us now.
Go figure.
or vice
With the
versa.
Hillsdale-
And the people that hated us have liked us. It's weird how this is working out. We have a huge influence. We talk to our county commissioners. I talk to.
It's not that we have an influence. It's that we're bringing information to people, and people are going, I didn't know about that. I didn't know about that.
No, I mean,
didn't know
but
about
you're
that.
not going with the flow.
We have influence too, John. And I talk to my county commissioners regularly. Like I mean, I not all of them, but I talk to a couple of them, and I think they know what's right to do. But you got apathy behind you. You got the system that's always been this way. It's been doing it for 20, 30, 40 years. This is all they know, and they get indecisive in their own brain.
Well, they're indecisive of, well, yeah, John, what you're saying sounds like that's supposed to be right, but we've never done it that way, and I don't want to go against the grain. I don't want to be the first one to do it right.
How does this look about this wind farm coming into Wheatland Township to a commissioner's point?
Well, it depends on who you got for commissioner, right?
Yeah.
You know, that's really what's going to come down to it.
I mean, I've never even heard from the commissioner. No, and obviously this has been going on for what, 9 years, you say?
Yeah, it's been going on a while.
Yeah. Yeah. So John Burker was our county commissioner before Tim Shaw.
But wait a minute. It's really sad to know that Tim Shaw showed up at our township board meeting and never said a word of what's going on. When I stood up at every meeting and tell him.
You're assuming that Tim Shaw knows more than that board.
No, I'm assuming that Tim Shaw would say if there's an illegal OMA violation.
That's what I'm saying. You're assuming that he knows.
You're assuming that he knows. He doesn't.
He should have said, "Well, what is this about?"
But what if he doesn't? But what if he doesn't know that it's an OMA violation?
I presented it as an OMA violation.
I know, but John and we see this. We've seen.
If I was in a township board,
on regular basis, we see OMA violations on just about every public meeting we go to.
Okay.
Just about every one of them.
Like,
so how does a commissioner? What would a commissioner do in that case?
Chastise him.
Yeah. Say, excuse me.
But why didn't the
Michigan Compiled Law 15.233?
He probably didn't know.
But I presented it as a OMA violation.
That doesn't mean that
he might not have believed you.
Yeah, because you're saying it. Who are you?
So why don't you investigate it? Why don't you look into it?
But he should know what the OMA is.
In theory, he should have.
He should have known what the
that's
OMA
what I
is.
wanted to get out of you.
In theory, he should have.
It's like pulling teeth here.
Well,
I just wanted to get that out of you.
Well, you should have said that.
What he should have. Oh, I'm sorry. Directly, John.
What bothers me is there's some of us that know the OMA very, very well. And in fact, we got a little classroom here where we would put together a complete OMA class for people.
I think that's what
it's
important for people.
None of them will show up. I'll guarantee it. None of them will show up.
I would show up for that one. So I think that's going to be very important.
Can we make it a requirement?
No.
No, you can't. No, I would never want to make anything a requirement.
So what you want to do is the OMA is really important. It really is, and that's the building. That's the foundation of this. And so
it's the foundation of we the people, the masters of the law.
You don't want to get caught up on it either.
The thing is with me, went out to the township, went out to the planning commission, OMA, and nothing has been done.
That's right.
So to me, it's like, what good is this OMA?
Because we get this, well, we've been doing it like this for 50 years. Who are you? Who are you? You're nobody, right? We get this, I'm government.
OMA violation.
I'm government. You're nobody.
After your county level, you should have already been talking to Matt at the Drain Commission. You should be talking to all these elected officials that are on the county level. Mm-hmm. After that, you talk to Eric Leuthauser.
Oh, we have.
Okay, state representative.
He responded to us and didn't want to get involved.
You see what I mean? Doesn't that sound strange?
Mark Wahlberg is coming.
No, it sounds just exactly what's supposed to happen.
Tim Wahlberg is coming to.
That's the next guy.
Design.
That's what I was gonna say. That's the next up.
And Mike Shirkey also.
Oh, Mike Shirkey. Yep, that's right.
Was going to.
But there was going to. They're not coming now.
I think they're scheduled to come out this week.
Well, I know Tim travels around.
They're
Yeah.
busy.
He fancies the manufacturing plants. I see it all the time. Where like if you go drive by like Brooklyn, you see the Tim Wahlberg outside the manufacturing plant or whatever, like these little metal shops. You'll see a Tim Wahlberg outside there's every time. So he represents like that small manufacturing. Or at least
that's probably why he's going to Ross Design.
Yeah, that's exactly why. Because they put a Tim Wahlberg sign out in front of their place every time he runs. Mm-hmm. So, but that'd be.
We've asked for help. I mean,
Ross Design Owner might have a little bit more clout with him too.
He does
because he probably campaign. Finance wise, he probably puts into his campaign. I would assume.
Well, if you got 30 employees, there's 30 votes.
that too. Yeah, you get more votes. Obviously,
70 employees. 70 employees.
Well, there's
70 votes.
There's 30 votes.
Right. Exactly. So so I would assume that, but I would try to catch. You got to try to catch.
Well, our
Tim.
group has 120.
Well, there you go.
There's 120 votes.
But you got to get all of them involved. I mean, but when you see a wrong, I always ask, even if it's not in my community, So I'm representing the county at this point now. If I see something happening, say in Reading, I'm District 5 representative, right? Is there room for dissent for me to speak out about that? Wrong.
See, here's where the difference is, and this is in dealing with these local, county, state, and national officials. I get this all the time. Well, you got to understand, John. That's not our area. Oh, I don't have any power in that. Okay, but wait a minute. We have to break this down and understand what it is. There's two things here. There's something that I have power over, but there's also a platform that I have as a leader that it might not be if I'm a legislator, and it might not be in the legislative area. That doesn't mean that I still can't use my position and my platform to use leadership and to say something about it.
Or shame.
Doesn't mean
shame someone.
Doesn't mean that I have any official power to do anything, right? But those areas where I have official power, then I should act with official power. But those areas that I don't have official power, I still have that platform as a leader, and I need to stand and do what leaders do.
So as a county commissioner, the first thing I would do is
bring it to the other commissioners' attention.
That's right. And I would tell them, hey, why don't you guys come down to this meeting and see how this rolls? You wouldn't believe what was going on in our county. And this is going on in our county, and it's spread out because it's in Julie Gaines' in her district. It's in Bruce Caswell's district. So these are all spread out through individuals' districts. They might not even be knowing about it.
Well,
or they might want to just look the other way.
Well, that very well could be.
Well, the problem is,
but when someone asks me, hey, why isn't it? I brought it to their attention.
Do you want to ask me if Tim Shaw looked the other way, or would he approach it? He never approached us.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing is, we think that there's so many people get elected, and we think, well, they got elected, they must know, right? Because the same thing Ruth was telling me, we have to have somebody with experience and knowledge. No, this is part of the problem. But the problem is, when people do go for that and they get elected, it's like none of them crack a book and figure out what the OMA is.
Well, another thing too is information gets funneled a lot of times. So I know as a county commissioner, the information that gets put out, I'm going to put platforms out so people can communicate with me, so it doesn't get funneled. A lot of times,
that's
a lot of county commissioners, what they do is, particular older guys, and I get it because they didn't grow up with the computer, they didn't grow up with social media, and they're actually intimidated by it. I understand, right?
See that right there?
Yeah,
it's the world's smallest violin.
Yeah, well, the thing is this is the reality, and they insulate themselves from the noise, right? Because they're scared of that. They're intimidated by that. They don't know how to handle that. They don't know how to respond properly. So it's
time to put your big boy pants on and man up.
So for me, being a county commissioner, I will have a Facebook county commissioner page where you can communicate with me. I'll have an email that everybody will have access to and a phone number that everybody will have access to. And I will pick up the phone every single time. I will respond every single time. And since I work from home, I can respond actually quite quick.
You better be working from home.
Right. So so I'll be able to respond quite quickly. And my job is to protect your civil liberties and for justice.
That's it.
Anything outside of that is overreach.
In fact, that's in Federalist Paper 51.
Wow.
So these people that are infringing on civil liberties over there, I have to call it out for what it is, and then I have to shame anybody else that's not helping calling that out. Unfortunately,
I like that. I like that.
What do you think, John? So we did windmills and
I'm
county
thinking I
commissioners.
got dinner at home and it's getting cold.
Yay! So anything else that we didn't get onto, Chris, before we
Do you have
roll out?
do you have about another 5 hours or
No, 5 hours.
No,
Yeah.
no, he's serious. there would be 5 hours.
I mean,
worth
this
of stuff.
Oh,
there
you know what,
is
Chris?
so much more.
Go ahead and give your phone number out if anybody. So first off, you can find you on Facebook too, because I found you on Facebook, right?
Right. We're informed citizens of Wheatland Township. And let me say another thing here about everybody who is with Consumers Energy. It's very important.
Which I am in Somerset.
Yes. That you look us up in Facebook, Informed Citizens of Wheatland Township, and we do have a GoFundMe page, and we're going to fight this all the way.
And what's
if
the
we
GoFundMe?
win,
What's that for, though? What's that page for? Why don't you just tell
it's
people?
for our attorney's fees.
Okay.
To fund our attorney to fight this in court to get rid of the wind turbines.
Yeah, because oddly enough, you can't go
And
to court
then-
for free.
and then you won't have a 20% rate increase in January through Consumers Energy.
Yeah, so
If you just give me 1 month
something
of
like
that
Lost
increase,
Design, that 1 month was $900. So if he would he gives you guys $900,
and if you compound that by 100, 1,000, we'd have enough money that
so
So you can either
able to-
pay the money up front to help fight this
to
thing,
help fight this cause.
or you can pay Consumers Power that money.
and that's
But
what,
either way, you're going to pay the money.
and you feel that it's going to take some small businesses out.
Well, I mean,
It's-
how much legally is this going to take? You think it's going to take 10 grand,
Who
20
knows?
grand, 30 grand?
It just depends.
What do you
just
ballpark, John? What do you
depends.
think?
I'd put in. I must say I'm not a lawyer,
Right.
and I don't pretend to be.
And
but
I don't know the
I would
judges
Say, I would say it's probably by the time it's
10,
said and done,
15?
you're looking probably 25,000.
Okay, so and how much
Depending on
money
where
have
it
you raised
goes.
so far?
5,000.
5,000. Oh, wow, that's a good number, man. I thought we were saying like $500 or something.
No. We wouldn't even have our attorney if we did $500.
So you guys raised $5,000 already.
Yes.
Oh, congratulations! You got the ball rolling, man. Most people
We're a
can't-
little bit over that.
A lot
but
of people can't generate that kind of fund.
But that was generated by a very, very, very small number.
it usually
number.
is.
very small.
But
But that can get that's a good start.
But
right?
but what
It
people have
started
to
us.
understand is you can either pay me now or you can pay me later.
Or you can pay consumers.
but they're
later.
going to pay.
Right.
They're going to pay.
And then do you want to give out your phone number or
Yes.
email or
Let me
something?
give you my phone number. My name is Chris Pollard. My number is 517-914-2989. Inform citizens of Wheatland Township. And
Say that number one more time slow.
That's 517-914-2989.
Thank you.
Cool. And obviously, if anybody needs like any copies of documentation or want to see that big book of maps that shows all kinds of different things, that I was
a hold of Chris.
It's surprised, man.
It's
That's
all
surprising.
we like I say, you go on our Facebook page, we'll accept anybody, whether you are for windmills or against windmills. It gives you complete information
Total
about
transparency.
yes,
And
about
obviously,
what's going
John
on.
and I will continue to work with you guys regardless of any situation with the county commissioner. We need to probably contact John Burka to see what he knows. He was county
And when
commissioner.
he knew, who knew and when.
Yeah, exactly. we gotta figure this
Yeah.
stuff out too. So see what his position was when this was going on. If he knew about it, he was
may
the county
not. He
commissioner
may not have known anything.
for quite some time. So
They kept this hush hush for a long, long time.
right. So well, God bless everybody.
Read your constitutions.